Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you listen to my podcast. If you're here, thank you for coming on so much. This is episode 20-something with Steve Bingley, who, sort of like coronavirus, actually was airborne, unlike 3RAR is currently. If you don't have a stab at 3RAR losing their wings, you've got to. No, he was a paratrooper when he was in the Army. Steve Bingley, he's the co-founder and head coach of Century Strength and Conditioning, which is Canberra's largest high-performance science-based outdoor fitness provider. He's a former paratrooper in the Aussie Army, exercise physiologist, and a very sought-after trainer, and very sought-after to come on this podcast. So a massive thank you to Steve. Before we jump in it, if you want to support this podcast directly, I have my own merch store, which is teespring.com/stores/Willy-merch. It is in the podcast description, or as well as if you hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, I can link you directly there, and that supports making this show better and getting people on and getting traveling with this, so I can interview people who don't live in Adelaide, which is bloody no one, because Zoom sucks. And the second major sponsor of this, who are legends and have supported me both in personal and on everything, is Tactical Recovery. For those who don't know, for those who are not aware, Tactical Recovery basically get everyone naked by bath salts, magnesium recovery-based salts and magnesium sprays, all that good stuff. As well as every single transaction you make, $1 goes towards supporting veterans and their families through Legacy Australia. But special to the podcast and on my Instagram, because I am an Instagram booty bitch sellout. No, I'm not making anything off this code. It is for... off this code, this all goes to brain cancer. But if you use the code SALTYWILLY as the promo code, you will get 20% off your order, and $5 from that transaction goes straight to brain cancer research into the Charlie Teo Foundation, which if you look on my Instagram, you'll see all the fantastic Australian work they're doing with Australian scientists, Australian pharmaceutical benefits, everything. So go check out Tactical Recovery. They're great people. I can vouch them at all time, and check out their great stuff that gets me naked after a meatloaf-fueled workout. Righto. Thank you for that intro. Strap in for podcast with Steve Bingley. Really looking forward to it. This one's a long one, so I'm putting it up one part, not multiple parts. Strap in there. Yeah, let's go.
It's the Willy Show.
Oh, yeah.
Good, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well, man. Fucking cruising along, getting out heaps with this virus happening.
Oh, yeah, I bet, mate.
Fucking flat out as we all are.
Yeah, well, it's given us a chance to slow down, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Trying to, I got 3 kids at home, and it's been a nightmare today because we had the power turned off.
Fuck.
So I'm just trying to, yeah. And so the missus has got a government job and she needs a fast internet connection, so she had to pack her big work computer up and move down to my oldie's place, and then left me with the kids with no power, and trying to homeschool and keep these little kids amused, and it's blowing like a snowman's ass crack outside. So it's kind of been an interesting day. So this has actually been a nice little a little break in my day. And Mrs. just got home, and I'm like, all right, I'm out of here now. I'm going to talk to Willy for a little bit.
Fuck yeah, man.
See what's going on.
I'm glad. Yeah, fucking this corona, man. I was like, yeah. But it's funny you said like it's a bit of a break for people. Like I'm almost like, I hope this acts like rings true to people. Be like, yeah, look, we can't just work ourselves to death. Like look at all the free time we've got. Yeah. Like at least after this realize that fuck, I should take a holiday.
Yeah. It's funny because it's like you hear so many people whinge about it, and like it is bad. It's really bad. But for me, I'm just trying to look at the constant positives by going, hey, when do I ever get to school my kids? Yeah. Like we do schooling for about 2 or 3 hours, and then we go outside and climb trees. So
fucking hell, man. Like, I'm the same. Like it's a work day, and I woke up at 10 today. like I was up till 4 doing some shit, but like I also was like I find it easier to work at night. On the computer. So I'm like, fuck yeah. And a lot of my stuff, like putting podcasts together, it renders for like 6 hours. So,
Yeah.
So then I work.
You got a massive lag factor. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. So then I worked late
Yeah.
on fucking one of your mates' podcasts last night. Joshy.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, sweet, going to bed, 4 a.m., woke up at 10. Like, I can get real used to this.
Well, you know, because like I'm only training people face to face online like 2 or 3 days a week now. So because of the whole corona, usually I'm used to training Monday to Fridays, mornings and nights, and now I'm only training people 3 times a week, and I'm just like, what do I do now? Like, my laziest days are the days where I don't get up. So I trained people this morning, and today where I train people is the day I'm the most productive. I get so much shit done because I'm like, I've trained 50, 60 odd people online by 6:30 this morning. My wife has trained as well. I've trained because I get up and I get the blood flowing before the start of the session. So I'm awake before I teach the class. And then I've got the kids fed and dressed and everything by 8 o'clock. We start homeschooling by like 8 o'clock in the morning. We're finished by 11. And then we're just sitting there like, how many movies can we watch again? So
that routine though is so fucking important to maintain. Like, normally work maintains a routine for you. And then it's like, well, fuck, as soon as you don't have one, you really need to incorporate something of your own. Like, even
seriously,
if it's just,
routine's the kicker. It's the kicker. It's the absolute kicker. Because the days that I don't wake up to my alarm and have that regimented part of my day's shit. It's shit. You know, I'm off on a bad start. I'm waking up like lethargic to my daughter poking me with a stick next to the bed going, have you had a good sleep? Poking me. And then you get up and you just groggy as shit and you haven't trained, and all these layered effects just keep, just going on top of each other and on top. And then you just end up chasing your dick all day because you can't get shit done. So
fucking oath.
Yeah.
And like that, getting up and exercising in the morning, even if it's just like light as fuck, sets the sort of precedence for the rest of your day of how productive you are.
Yeah.
It's like that in the army. Like, you do 7:30 PT and the rest of your day you feel really good, except if it's like a fucking smash sesh.
That's a big pile of dicks. Yeah. No, it's well, I was saying to someone the other day that this is the first time in my life where regardless of me, like when I was a kid and stuff, but I was young and joined the army, and then I've been in the fitness industry ever since, and then I had kids and stuff, and now I've just been awake. I'm awake first thing in the morning every day. Every day I'm up before 6 o'clock, and I've been doing that since last 15, 16, 17 odd years. And now, as I said before, I don't have an alarm or anything to wake me up, and they're the most clunky days. It feels like a shit weekend.
Yeah, I get that.
A shit weekend.
It's fucking weird though, and like I think the people that haven't found that routine are the ones who are like not really strict in their normal life, and it's like, well, look, I don't have time to be fit or to eat well, and now they've found all this time, and they're not, and it's like, oh no, but you're still not working out or eating well. Like, there are people that are the opposite.
Yeah.
But then you've found all this time, and people who have like what I would call, it's a really cringy word that gets thrown around social media, but people need a passion project. But like, say like, if you want to, like, say a lot of people want to write a book, but never have started, or want to do whatever. This is such a good time to take up something that has no, like, monetary value. It's just something you always wanted to do.
The environment, all the variables are lined up in your life right now to allow you to do something like write a book or get healthy and active and stuff. This will never happen in your life ever again. Ever. You will never have all these stars lined up where you can completely and utterly, and I say the word flippantly, but selfish. Like, this is your time to be selfish and look after your body and your mental health and stuff like that. What you can't, as soon as they open the borders and everything, all this, starts to dissipate over the next couple of months, when we start to go back into some form of normal routine, man, you're going to be stuck in traffic again. You're going to spend more time on social media just surfing, doing absolutely jack shit. You're going to be whinging to work colleagues about the lamest shit, whereas now, at least you've got these Zoom calls and stuff like that people are having. And, they've got to be a little bit more succinct. Like I watched my wife on the Zoom call this morning, a government gig, and I'm like, man, you guys have a lot of meetings and you talk about shit. Talk about shit. You don't know. No wonder you only do about an hour and a half's worth of work a day.
Yeah.
Like the rest of the time's having Zoom meetings and doing catch-ups and micromanaging bloody everybody's tasks, and back onto like we'll never have this situation ever again in our life, and that's where
right at the end
I don't. Yeah, and I'm just trying to look at the positives with it. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. I get to spend time with my kids. I get to train whenever and pretty much like whenever I want to. So, and it's allowed a really interesting freedom that we're able to live in at the moment, because an interesting freedom considering we're locked up in like a societal prison. It's a really interesting dichotomy to kind of think about. So, I don't know. If you can't succeed on something like right now, it's not going to happen when you get released from prison. It's not going to happen.
Shit, no. Well,
if you can't,
you go.
Yeah.
No, you go.
If you can't work out to go out and go for a walk right now, all right, go for a walk, because it's going to not only get you out of the house, so you're going to lose your cabin fever, it's going to improve your immune system and all the other paraphernalia that go with it as well, right? But you're probably going to up your steps from what you do normally in your normal day life, all right? If you can't do that now, you'll never be able to do it when we get out. It's just the plain simple of it. So,
yeah,
it is what it is.
Like my boss rang me the other day. He's like, "What have you been doing? You've been keeping busy." I'm like, I'm spending less time, but I'm way more productive than when I'm at work. Because if you actually break down a work day, it's really dependent on where you work and who you are, but you probably do 45 minutes to an hour and a half of actual work a day. Like
absolutely
proper, grind work. You're there for 8 hours, and let's say 40 minutes either side of that travel. And like my routine has been, I wake up, I cook breakfast, which I never cook breakfast. Like being in the army, I fucking never cook brekkie. And
you got nothing anyway. You got nothing to cook with anyway.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a muesli bar. Or
Jaff Lion, some stale bread you stole from the mess.
Yeah, fucking oath. I cook breakfast, and then I walk down to my cafe, the same cafe I go to every day. So it's a mile there and a mile back, which I know isn't far.
Oh yeah, nice.
But you walk, in that, let's just say close to 3.5 Ks, and that's the start of my morning. And 3.5 Ks, let's say 4,000 steps for the day. Already. And then I get home because I've already eaten, I've already had my coffee. And then I do, like religiously, I write 1,000 words in my book. Well, it takes, say, 35 minutes. I've done 30 minutes of work and already have done that. And then a podcast, I try and either set up a podcast or have one done. And I'm still only doing that same couple of hours of work, but I'm getting way more shit done. And all the shit I'm getting done isn't for someone else. It's all for me. Like, podcast.
That's the selfish part. That's the selfish part.
Yeah. But it's the time to do it.
That's right. That's right. And if you can't do it now, you won't get shit done when you get out, you get out of this. So
the time
I've noticed my step. The steps is a massive thing, because I've said to a couple of people, I'm like, get on your phone and look up the health app that's on your phone on most, smartphones, and have a look a couple of months ago what your average count was and what it is now. And if it's significantly lower, then that should be a massive indication there that you need to start moving. Because like I've got my morning class where I walk probably, let's just say around 2,000 to 2,500 steps in my morning class, and then about the same in the night. So at the moment, I'm down about 4,000 steps a day that I'm not doing Monday through to Friday. And so I have to make them up during the day now. And I consciously know that. So I'm actively going out of my way now to go and try and make up that little difference. Because that's massive. That is massive. When the average person's only got to walk like 10,000, and the average person doesn't walk 10,000 steps.
Nah,
that's just not going to happen. But for me to lose 4,000 steps a day, and I average about anywhere between 11 and 13,000 a day, it's massive. So
well, fucking oath. And you think about just the extra calories. Say, like, I know on my morning, like 2 mile walk, it's like 210 calories on that walk, which that's not that much on a single day. But if you add that up over, I've been in isolation 6 or 7 weeks now. Imagine if you're adding that every day. That is massive. If you
imagine the guys that are in the States, imagine the ones in Italy and America and stuff like that have been in isolation for weeks and weeks before us and are still going to be in isolation way longer. Those guys are going to come out and, oh, shit.
Right, well, that's where I went. I know I put on a fuckload of weight during chemo. One, they want you to put on weight in chemo. It's really good to hold weight because most people just lose it. But then, there's a reason they want you to put it on, and you're on this drug called Dex something that is like a steroid to make you hungry. And it's crazy, man. This fucking steroid, they call it crazy hungry. Like, you will not stop eating until you throw up because it's like a drug.
Wow.
It's actually fucking terrible, man. I wouldn't take it again unless it was like desperate. It was terrible. It was like an IV drip steroid, but they just need you to put mass on. But the thing
is that common? Is that common?
On my type of chemo, yes. Some types they just can't keep weight on you. There's 400 types. But on mine, they were happy. Like, I was putting on easily 2 kilograms a week. And my oncologist was like, that's good. Like, he's like, your dosage of chemo is directly correlated to your body mass, of your total body mass. So they can only give a 70 kilogram person, which I started chemo at about 73, 74 kilos. They can only give you so much. And then if you're 100, they can give you the same percentage, and it's a lot higher percentage of the chemo. I'm not sure why.
How does that affect your energy levels?
Oh, bro. Sickest you will, it's horrible, man. It's horrific. It attacks every cell because it can't differentiate between a good cell and a bad cell. It just kills
good and bad. Yeah.
And I tell people, it's not tired. It's not running a marathon and your legs are tired or doing push-ups and your arms are tired. It attacks the cells in your brain, all your organs. It attacks the cells in your pinky toe down to your eyelids. It's every thing in your body is fatigued, and it's not fatigue sore. You can't work through it. The cells are dead or they're dying. You can't actually work through that. I worked out as much as I could. I did
within reason, mate. Far out.
Well, the thing is, man, as exercise, and I know you've done a lot of exercise science, degrees and whatever, but exercise is one of the best things you can do for cancer. Like, so Australia, as of 2018, year before, is the first country in the world to have prescribed exercise to cancer patients.
Wow. Really?
So you go in and they will give you a little book, and the state sort of council, cancer council thing, like all their government projects, you can assign an exercise physiologist, and they like in a logbook exercise with you. Now, I didn't have to do it because I think the doctor knew I was going to do it anyway. But it is prescribed. And if you don't do that, it's like not taking a prescription of chemo. Then there'll be questions.
That's exactly right.
Why aren't you doing it?
Yeah.
And exercise, man, honestly fucking saved me, well, mentally, but the physical sort of attributions of actually doing it. And I'm talking exercise as, there's a photo on my Instagram of me and my chemo, I did 13 months of chemo. It was fucked.
Fuck.
It was fucking shit out, man. I maybe 7 months in, would walk out to I have a home gym, walk out with my spew bucket, sit it on the bench, and then put like a pair of like 6 kilo dumbbells, do a set of bicep curls, and then walk back to the couch, and that'd be me for like 3 days. Because my arms were just fatigued from that.
Were you as driven, as active as you were pre-cancer? So before you went to the GAN and stuff like that, when you were over in the GAN and stuff?
Look, I don't think I'll ever be as fit as when I was in the GAN, just from the fucking surrounding sort of thing. There's nothing else to do but work out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
And I was
go overseas, get fit. Yeah.
Fucking oath, man. And I spent 15, 16, 17. I deployed 17, 2017.
Yep.
I spent those really last 2.5 years training for 2018 SF selection for the SAS.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I really had a better, I had that goal of specific fitness for that. So I probably won't be, it really depends on what sort of fitness you want. I'm stronger than I ever was, like as far as my 1RM is stronger.
Yeah.
But it's hard to it's still hard to reset that goal for me during chemo. And I had to reset my goal, man, of actually not having a goal. Like the goal wasn't long term. It was
that's nuts.
I'm going to walk, I'm going to get off the couch and walk out and do it. And for the last 4 months, man, I might have walked maybe around the block or to the end of the street and back, and that was it.
Do you reckon you did almost something every day during your chemo?
So I did a full week.
Regardless of how big or small it was?
So dependent. So I used to do a full week of chemo, then 3 weeks recovery. So a month.
Yep.
And then that 13. Well, I did 12 full rounds, but I had to have a break in the middle because I ended up in ICU from the chemo. It made me that crook. Anyway, so say the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that first 3 doses, I would do something every day. So Monday I would, do, but I couldn't work legs because if how leg day you pull up and, oh, fuck, I'm sore from any leg day. I couldn't work legs because they just would not recover. Like they just would not. Yeah. And if I went into that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, later in the week with any soreness, it would be fucking agony for me. It would just kill. Because if you think, it's rapidly dividing cells. That's what it's targeting and killing. And if you have torn muscles, like the muscle fibers from working them, what's repairing that muscle is rapidly dividing cells. It just kills them. And you'll have sore legs from squats for 2 weeks. I tried.
Not to mention your kidneys are cooked and they can't process the bloody CK out of your body anyway. So you've got this byproduct of muscle soreness in your legs or your whole body in general that you just can't rid from your body.
Man,
so
Mum and Dad just smell me. They were like, we can smell when you're on chemo. You smell toxic. Yep. But man, I tried as much as I could to do something every day. Later in the week, I couldn't. From Thursday to that following maybe Wednesday, there was a 7-day period of I couldn't do anything. I was on the couch. Yep. And when I say on the couch, man, I live in a pretty little like normal townhouse. I had to have a chair between my bedroom and the couch because I couldn't walk from my bedroom to the couch without needing a break. So I'd walk maybe 6 meters to a chair, sit there for a bit, like just fucked, and then sit on the couch and watch telly. Or just sit there with it dark because my brain was getting attacked, man, by the chemo as well. You get this phenomenon called chemo, or they call it chemo brain. And you almost lose, it's like being shit-faced drunk. Or like not shit-faced drunk, but the hangover you'd have after, where your brain doesn't really work well. So I couldn't focus on more than one thing at a time. So if I was watching TV and I could hear people talking, like in the background, like in the kitchen, I would have to turn off the TV because my brain didn't have the capacity to have 2 things going into it at once.
Compute, you couldn't do it.
Man, it was horrible. It's fucking horrible. But the exercise.
What a dick punch! What a dick punch,
man! But trust me, like exercise in so many regards was the best fucking thing. But I put on over that course almost 40 kilos of weight.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm down.
That's
like,
good.
Say,
that's good though. That's good.
Down,
you can always come back from that.
From it? Yeah, you can always come back.
Yeah.
And I'm just sort of readjusting my work because it took me like 7 months, man, after it to get over it. Because the chemo stays in your body. Some stays in it for life. And a lot of it is permanent effect. So my kidneys and liver and whatever are permanently affected by it.
Yeah.
But man, like it's fucking hard. It's exercise though. Fuck. And it's not to make you feel better, it treats cancer as well as anything. It's now on.
It's honestly the holy grail. Exercise is the holy grail, regardless of what type of protocol or stimulus that you use. Any form of movement, they say, just what is it? Use it or lose it. It's the same for dementia patients and stuff like that as well. So being active with your brain as well, just as much with your body. There's a really cool physical literacy. It's a thing that they're running out through schools a lot more now. Like when we were, maybe not so much when we were younger, but we were emphasized a lot more to be active and play games and stuff. And now they're little cotton wool kids and they can't do anything. They've got to wrap, bubble wrap around the playground equipment and ban them from doing cartwheels. And so there's this thing called physical literacy where it's just as important as the mathematical side and the written side is the physical side. And so they've actually got a really cool staged approach that at year one that they have to be able to throw a ball with one hand and catch a ball with two hands, and they have to be able to hop on one leg for 30 seconds. And then the next year they have to be able to do something else. And it's these basic milestones that they have with normal growth and development with kids, but with the physical literacy, you find that the kids that didn't do it are the ones that, and you probably know when you're at school, you had some Gumby shitbag that you threw a ball at them and they couldn't catch it. They just couldn't catch it, and they lacked that physical literacy. And they're the ones that are the targeted people later in life that are the ones that are struggling to be active and have those routines and stuff to be, members of society, just maintain fitness and health and well-being and stuff like that. And that's big over in not so much in Asia, but in pretty much all over the world. I can't just say one country. I can't say one country. Man, it's everywhere. You've only got to go down to a local primary school and watch them outside doing physical education. I've run a couple kids classes before for little. I've done year 6s and I've done year 3s. And you look at the year 6 kids, and some of them are just jumping at the gills because they want to do some training, and they're doing push-ups and burpees and they're doing little shuttle runs and bear crawls and stuff and happy pigs in shit. And then you got other kids that are just like, oh, I've got an injury. And it's like, you haven't got an injury. Your parents are just shit. Your parents are shit. All right? And they've wrapped you in so much cotton wool, it's cutting the circulation off to your brain. All right. And shit, I'd hate to see where they're going to be in the next 10 years' time, because they're the person that I have to then deal with in the civilian fitness industry that come to my session, and then I'm the one going, what did you expect to do? This is exercise. You signed up to an outdoor boot camp at 6 o'clock in the morning in the middle of winter. I'm sorry I didn't turn the thermostat up for you a little bit, and, because you got all little delicate fingers and you don't want to get too cold and stuff like that. But it creates these people that are just so soft, soft.
And that translates to everything in their life, man. It translates into their diet, or especially the diet, but into their work ethic behind things too.
Yeah, their work performance. Imagine how if you had this person that we call the average, and the average person is overweight and they have high blood pressure, they've got a really high resting heart rate, they couldn't run around the block. They would struggle to run 100 meters without labored breathing. They've got all the symptoms of someone that's pre-obese, okay? And that's the average demographic that we have today, all right? The average person is not skinny and lean and kind of, not fat but not skinny. No, the average person now is just a ball, okay? They're just a ball. Imagine that person in a workplace. Imagine how productive that person would be if they started running 3 or 4 times a week, regardless of the distance. That's then going to improve their appetite, so they're going to improve their digestion, so they're going to be able to eat better and digest their food better. They will then probably have a higher concentration rate at their workplace, so their work productivity is going to increase. They'll go home. They'll probably have better relationships with their family and stuff like that. They probably sleep better. Right? They'll probably have better night's sleep, and then they get up and they do it again. And so their work performance is going to increase over a period of time. There's nothing that you could say that it's not going to improve their work productivity at all.
Oh, man.
And if you are, you're full of shit.
I know that my first ever run, because when I finished chemo was, in the next year to 2 years, it was 12 months initially, and then my body just didn't hold up the way I thought it would. I'm doing a 100K ultra marathon. and it was for no other, like there will be in the next couple of months when it comes to fruition, it will be a charity-based thing, but it's not, it's more actually for myself to prove, fuck, I couldn't walk to my room. But my first run was 400 meters and I was fucked. Like I was fucked. And then like, you know, at the moment I'm comfortably out to, you know, 15 to 20s. And I was like, fuck, I really haven't increased where I thought I would. And then I was like, I'm like, well, fuck, if
hang on a second.
The average person is actually not the problem. This is the problem I think we have around in the army sometimes, especially in infantry units, is we actually don't appreciate even our least fit guys are so much fitter than average.
That was me. That was me.
Yeah.
I didn't appreciate it, man. To save my life. Couldn't run to save my life. I was literally the shittest person in every platoon that I served in. I was always the shittest and slowest person. Absolutely every single time. And I think that was what fueled me to go and do stuff later in life. But then when you kind of look back at it, it's like, hang on a sec. You're still running 2.4 in 10:48. You're still doing a 3.2 in 16:10. You're still doing 60 push-ups and 10 chin-ups. So your shit level of fitness is still significantly higher than the average person. So
fucking oath. Man, and I had to sort of reflect, like, nah, that's so far above average for what my body's gone through. And I'm still above that. I'm like, well, fuck. There's just no, and I hate the whole no excuses thing because I believe there are legitimate, I've been through things that are legitimate excuses. But at the same time, I'm like, well, yeah, but it's scaled too. Like you're doing chemotherapy and you're sick. Okay, don't work out. Or this has happened. Don't work out. But I'm like, nah, fuck off. Like you're overweight. Yeah, I was too. Like I was running 14 Ks at 111, 112 kilos. And I'm a short dude, man. I'm like 173.
You're a pretty shit house.
I was still managing just to fucking push through, man. And I was like, you know, fuck. Just do it. My first were 400 fucking meters, and then some of them I had to walk. I'd run like 100 and then walk the rest 3. And it's pretty shit in the beginning if you remember running those 20, 30K runs. And then you're like, fuck, I can't run 100. Especially, and then you know, there's a mental problem in it too that of like this fucking cancer, blah blah blah. But eventually it goes up. And in the beginning, especially people who've never worked out before, you will see the biggest fucking spike in your first couple of months. Like
that's unbelievable. That's right. That's why I keep saying to people, it's like if you just start, like you start, anything. You're going to get the biggest change in your results. You're going to lose the most weight. You're going to be able to run the fastest and furthest you've ever run. You're going to lift more weight than you've ever done. Right in the first 2-3 weeks. For someone like me that's training all the time and pushing and trying to push and push and push and push and push, for me to get a 1 kilo increase on my deadlift, I almost have to blow my freaking puffer valve just to get that 1 kilo.
Oh, fucking oath.
And it's just for what? For 1 kilo, so I can walk into my wife and go, "Hey, I pulled this amount." And she looks at me and goes,
"Yeah,
I don't give a shit. I don't care. Give me a good number and walk away." So, you know.
And then the other aspect of that, man, is then the mental health problems with, you know, not working out. Like, fuck, the clearest thinking I do is while exercising or after. Very, very few workouts where you go into it in a bad mood and come out in that same bad mood or, you know, with shit rattling around in your brain.
Absolutely. It's I get on the bike, as I was saying before at the start, I get on an exercise bike at 4:20 in the morning before I teach my online class. And it's black and it's shit weather outside, and I don't care because I'm not out in it for once.
Yeah.
And I'm half asleep on the bike. I'm half asleep and I'm like scrolling through the iPad trying to find something on Netflix to watch, some shit. And then before you know it, 45 minutes is up, and I usually do about an hour on the bike. And by then I'm wide awake and I get in the shower and then I have a second coffee and I'm like, let's go. Ready to rock and roll. My brain, my freak, like everything is just, everything's working at its optimal frequency in my brain at 5:45, I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to start the day. Whereas, you know, if I had just gone, I've been like some of the people I have to train, right? They start training at 6. They wake up at 5:45. Their brain hasn't caught up with their ass for the first hour and a half.
Yeah.
So they're doing this session and they wonder why they don't understand what's going on, and you have to say things a couple times to them. But I don't give a shit because those people are still training, all right? The other ones, they're still laying in bed. There's the ones hitting the snooze button constantly. Snooze, 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 snooze. You know, as Jocko says, you know, how do you wake up early? Just wake up early. Just get up.
Get up.
Sit up.
Yeah.
Just get up. There's no magical potion to it. Your alarm goes off, turn it off, and you sit up. You know, and the physiology behind it, the faster that you can get up into a vertical position, all right, the faster the blood's going to start flowing down through your body, and it's going to initiate the wake-up sequence significantly faster, way faster. So essentially, the faster that you get up out of your bed and start moving around, the faster you'll wake up, all right? Whereas if you lay in the bed and you keep hitting snooze, all you're doing is just having undisrupted shit sleep.
Yeah.
That's it. And it just, you know, I don't judge people that have snooze alarms. I don't. But, you know, it's one of those things that if you haven't achieved your goals, what you're trying to achieve, you know, if someone's saying to me, hey, I'm struggling to lose this 15 kilos, I'm struggling to lose this 10 kilos, you know, I lack motivation in the morning, and you look at their alarm and they snooze it constantly. It's like, stop snoozing that shit. Just get up, sit up in your bed, have a couple breaths, stand up, start moving. All right. And then the other thing is to have shit laid out for you. So if you're going to train in the morning, you know, lay your clothes out. It sounds dicky. But literally having your clothes that are sitting there, so you have to have no thought. You literally just have to walk up, pull your dacks on, put your shirt on, put your shoes on, and walk out the door. You're good to go. All right. But if you have to go and stand there and look in the closet and go, oh, what am I going to wear to impress my freaking lady friends at the gym because they're going to turn up, you know, half an hour later? Do that the night before. All right. Yeah. Have everything lined up, even having your headphones, having these things untangled. Holy shit. You put them in a pocket and they turn into a bloody, you know, a ball of shit. So untangle your headphones. Just have everything laid out. So everything. So you can't stuff shit up. All right. You set your environment up for success.
Yeah, fucking oath.
And you sound like a bloody swearing, you know, shittier version of Tony Robbins saying that stuff. But, you know, it works out. You know, just having everything laid out nice and neat, and you just kind of put it all in and you just straight out the door. And with running costs nothing.
No.
Free.
No.
It's fucking free. Walk out the front door and start running. If you can't run, briskly walk. And when you feel warmed up enough, break into a jog. And when you get tired, stop and walk. And then when you recover, start jogging again. Do that for a period of time. And then come home and the next day go out and do the same thing. And when that becomes easier, add a little bit of time. Don't worry about the distance. Who gives a shit about the distance? Try to make it sound easy. But, you know, there's a reason we have an obesity epidemic in the world.
Yeah.
And
in the Western world, yeah.
You know, even the scenario that you've been through with your chemo treatments and stuff like that, I believe that your chemo treatments have changed essentially who you are. You're not the same version you were, you know, pre-cancer.
No.
You're a completely and utterly different version of you. You probably operate on a completely and utterly different frequency. The way your brain works and how your body moves and stuff, you could probably look at yourself in the mirror and see a version of you, but it's not the same version. And
a lot of people say it's. A lot of people say, "Oh, the old Willy and the new Willy." They say there was such a significant change. It's like when you see old World War II vets and whatever talk about pre-war and post-war. They were just completely different people. Yeah, same as that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm not the same person I was, you know, when I was a teenager. Obviously, I'm old. You know, I'm 35. I'm not the same person I was 17 when I joined the army. I'm not the same person I was when I started in the fitness industry when I was 22 or 23 or whatever, you know. I'm not the same person I was last year. Yeah. I'm not the same person. I'm a different version. I look at my training sessions that I write and I go, that stuff's shit. That's shit. I look at old programming and I go, that's rubbish. And I pick the shit out of it. Right. And so that's just me constantly critiquing older versions of me. Will I ever get to a good optimal version? No.
Yeah.
No. But
But that change is so, it's so good, man, to grow and change like that and fuck up and everything. Like, I go, well, I haven't been home in years now, I remember going home in the army, and that changed for a young man at 18, man, between civilian fucking around doing whatever you want with no overheads. Next thing you're in Kapuka, Singo, fucking whatever.
Yep.
In 6 months, you go back and you've grown 10 years. In that first, I'd say initial between joining the army and graduating Singleton is 5 or 10 years of growth. And going home and almost like my friends pissed me off because I'm like, you guys are so fucking hopeless. Man, it's happened now. I go home. Well, I haven't been home in years, but last time I was home and on Facebook or whatever, and it's like they've got the same jobs, the same girlfriends, they're doing the same shit.
Nothing's changed.
The same person.
Nothing's changed.
And I'm like, fuck me. Like, you need to grow and change and, experience, even if it fucks up. Man, I often say, because I take the piss out of fucking everything, but cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me. Like, I grew so much, and I had to, because I was like, oh, this is fucked. I had that realization an 85-year-old must have about death. And then I was like, fuck, I need to live differently. But the funny thing is, man, that change, and this is what I try and put onto people, into a more reserved, nicer person, not your typical grunt, fuck around idiot. I actually a lot of people might go like, got diagnosed, you've got a death sentence sort of time. Skydiving and fuck base jumping and all this shit. I almost had the opposite of that. I'm like, well, I just want to appreciate little things. Like, I want to sit and have a coffee because I fucking.
I was just about to say the same thing. Just having a nice cup of tea.
Yeah. Oh fuck, man.
For me, it's just shit. I joined the army when I was 17. When I was 17, and I was still I went to Kapuka between year 11 and year 12. Okay. And so I finished Kapuka on the Sunday, masked out on the Sunday, and then went to first day at year 12 the next day. Fuck. And so here I am with the shaved head, and I'm sitting there like all braced up and shit in class, and people are talking. I'm like, shut the fuck up, knife hand. And it was a massive, massive change. And one of the guys who I was friends with for a decade, and he actually joined the army with me. He was a complete and utter flog bag at Kapuka, and I couldn't stand the sight of him when we got back. And people were like, "Hey, you went and joined the army with such and such," and I'm like, "Fuck you! No, he came and joined with me. Like, and he never did shit. So, he never did anything. He actually just did Kapuka and then never turned up to parade nights. This was as a reservist. Never turned up to parade nights, and then they just throw him out the door. But that culturally, that change for me was massive. Like you said, like that just blew my mind. I just saw things completely different. And my parents said that, I was a different version after that, and that was, how long's Kapuka? 6.5, 7 weeks or whatever it was.
Yeah, 12 now.
Yeah, that's it. Shit.
That's fuck all though. Like, it's a lot of change, man. And this is why I always say some people find it easy and some find it hard. And almost like the guys who find it hard are the ones who are sort of young men who don't want to change. Some people are happy to have change in their life, and it sort of just happens. Oh, I do this now. I march down like this, and I fucking fold my towel. Where man, I remember rocking up. I joined. My enlistment day was 2 days after completing high school, after graduating, and I was hungover as fuck on the bus.
Yep.
And I got there, and man, for that 80 days, I tried to hold off any change that I could. Because I just didn't. It's not that I didn't want it. It just was like, no, fuck you. And I got to sing over, and it all became good because I'm, oh, sweet, I can act like I can still be like that here. But they're trying to mold you into a certain way. And a lot of people, that's not an easy boldness to sort of push out of people.
I remember there was one moment for me that was probably the toughest, and it was just one random morning, polishing brass. That's all it was. And I think I was on a broom and I was sweeping under the beds and stuff like that. And I was just like, what the fuck is this place? What the fuck? Like, and I explained to people, I was 17. I knew shit. I knew nothing about life. But you got to experience almost like you said, 10 years worth of emotions in however many weeks. You know, 1 minute you're happy, next minute you're angry, next minute you're anxious, next minute you're pissed off, next minute you're scared, next minute, no, you're shit bricks. And then, you know, you're getting nervous about the shininess of your brass. Who gives a shit? Who cares? Imagine doing it as a mature person. Imagine being an older person just going, this is bullshit. Is this what my life has gotten to?
Yeah.
I'm polishing brass and I'm getting judged by some 24-year-old sergeant that's just going to pick shit out of it, you know?
22-year-old pogue.
Yeah.
Like, man, I couldn't do it again. Like, if they were like, you have to redo Kabuka, I'd be like, sick. Fuck off.
I'm going to go down there and get paid just to be a freaking pain in the ass. Just push the limits. You know, just square gate every chance you get.
Fuck. Yeah, don't tell them that don't tell them you're a full track in the army, and just be like, yeah, we go.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
I just forgot.
Just pulling them up on their shit.
Yeah, but that was a massive life changing event. And then I did Singo a little bit later in the year and stuff like that. I ended up having to. I finished my year 12. What was my parents' kind of only request, and yeah, it was. And then I got to experience the School of Armour.
Yeah.
I went down as a M113 driver down to Puckapunyal. So
fuck yeah,
I was down there for so good for drifting.
You still have them.
Well, God, man, you know, I don't see there's not a lot wrong with it except that it's old and very, very behind the times. Otherwise, it's a freaking fantastic machine. Yeah. Just put a bigger turret on it. Put a big remote gun system.
Yeah. Put
some reactive armor on it, you know.
Oh, I think the main piss take that we do is I think they think, because at the moment they're like, we're building, so 7RAR, and we've re-mechanized.
Yep.
But all our everything we're building is to write the PAM for the links or the box that are coming in for us. So, but the shit thing, what we're doing is we're doing drills that we would do on the Boxer, but in a vehicle it doesn't work in. So it's like, and it's like, just imagine that your 50 cal is a 40 mil fucking chain gun. And we're going to fight this way because it has 4Ks of range. And it's like, but it fucking doesn't. Or like, against armor. And we're like, I'm not going, like, I've section attacked in a fucking carrier against an Abrams. And I'm like, we just wouldn't fucking do this. And like, but you've got a tow missile. I'm like, but we don't.
There gets a stage where it's getting beyond a joke when you're going bang, bang, bang because you don't have enough bullets. But you got to take it to another level and pretend, hey, you've got a tow missile system and you can attack an Abram. And it's like, no one can attack an Abram.
At an Abrams. I've shot a BFA Steyr, just like, oh yeah, and the guys on the tank just laughing at it. So like, we wouldn't even hear it. Like, sick.
There was a 3-hour exercise. I think it was in 05 Cab W up in Townsville, and 3-hour bloody. I think it was I don't know if it was it support company. I think it might have been support company. It could have been Charlie company. And they were going against one of the other battalions, and they just obliterated. They had all the test gear and stuff like that, and they literally fucked them up big time. Fucked them up. Like they were shooting Black Hawks down, and like Black Hawk comes in with water, and they're like, nope, that Black Hawk has been shot down. All the water's fucked, and so they can't resup the water, and so these poor fuckers are like. There's no food, no water, and they're just shooting fucking everything. They absolutely murked them. So they were the enemy party, and they just absolutely totaled them. So that was one of those scenarios where you kind of got to really see kind of, what's capable with a kind of a non-conventional warfighting unit that have actually got some reasonable amount of skills,
Fucking oath.
a reasonable skill set.
Especially if everyone's
Kind of
logged their
interesting.
fucking test gear, that was a 155 howitzer or something.
Oh yeah, I remember running around Darwin with the bloody God gun, and it was 105, and you just like clunk, 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 and good times.
I was on
Good
Hammer like
times.
that, man. I was attached to the first Marines as the signaller between the Aussies and the Marines. And like, well, because you're like a critical element of this, you can't die. So I had a gun that could kill people, but no test gear that I could die. So I had a test gun and none of the sensors. And I was just VC running everything, man. It'd be like section attack, and I'd just be in the trench. I couldn't die.
Going gangster.
No shit. And I'm like, fuck this. And I'm like, I don't think I got on my guts for like 2 months.
Oh, shit.
Just standing up every hour. Fucking sick. And the Marines, man, those Marines fucking sucked. So there was like a point where they backloaded all the guys who died, and it was like me, their OC, and like 3 diggers, and we're the only ones alive, just cruising. We lost 70 dudes in an attack. And they're like, that was successful. And they're like, we're marching off with like 6 dudes. And I'm like, half of us are fucking officers. And then me, like, fuck this. Like, you guys operate so different.
Oh man, so many good times. But, what am I going to say? I found that, transitioning from those experiences pretty tough, because when I got out of the army, I went to Rebel Sport because it was the only place I could get a job. And that was fucking tough. That was tough because the company I was just in had just deployed to Afghan on RTF4, and I'm pushing boxes around in Rebel Sport. And I was like, that was a very hard transition because all your mates are overseas as well. They were either in Timor or in Afghan.
Yeah.
And I'm pushing boxes around, and it was just, that was a very, very difficult stage of my life to go through after having cool experiences like that, to go from that to a warehouse. That was a big pile of dicks.
Yeah.
So
it's a fucking mediocre compared, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. But, those experiences, they're priceless, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. The hardest thing is just trying to remember them all. That's the hardest thing.
It's always the shit ones are the best though. Like someone fucking up or something, that are always like the best ones, or something really shit.
Yeah.
But, fuck.
No,
man.
it's
And you're in the para days of 3RER too. They're the glory days.
Yeah. Yeah. I was lucky enough to serve at 3, kind of right at the end of like the golden era, like when it was kind of good, And then we had this really awkward exchange of leadership where it was very, very political. And, a lot of guys were, including myself, were like, pretty much either SF transfers or, trying to discharge and shit like that. And there was me and I think maybe 30 other guys got promoted and all got taken off RTF4 because we got promoted and got told we're going to East Timor again for a 3rd time in 3 years. And I'm just like, fuck you, I ain't going to East Timor for a 3rd time in 3 years.
Yeah.
06, and then 07, and then they want you to go again in 08. And I'm happy to go where the army wants me, but it's kind of like, fuck, there's people in this army that have been in just as long as me that haven't even been to Timor yet, and they've got multiple Iraq trips or Afghan trips, and I'm just sitting there going, this is bullshit. Am I going to be a freaking veteran am I going to get my Timorese citizenship, at the end of this bloody deployment? I've spent that much time there. So, and about 30, 40 Lance Jacks all had transfers, SF and this and that, and they got held up. Due to politics and manning and stuff like that. And I was lucky enough to get mine through, and I discharged and got out. So it was a good decision. I regret not being able to get over to the standy stand, but such is life. It doesn't matter. So, but politics. But 3 was really cool when I got there. It was really cool. You know, we had Adam Finlay. He was the old CEO, and he's a former SAS cat, and he made the whole unit pretty much be at barrier test fitness before you go on holidays. So everyone had to do SF barrier test before you go away on holidays. So that was always amusing.
Fucking I bet.
You got to do CO's fitness test, you got to do a parachute fitness test, and you got to do a BFA, you know. But lucky the BFA is only once every 6 months, because the PFA's, you know, 2 or 3 times a year, and CO's fitness test is 2 or 3 times a year. So you got a lot of freaking fitness assessments you got to do as well. So that was good fun. It was good. And, you know, it was kind of that time when you could get away with stuff, you know, internally in platoon, you know, platoon dynamics out in the scrub and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, readjust attitudes and stuff like that if you had to. What, you know, kind of got phased out a lot. And I don't think you could probably get away with some of that shit these days, but it worked, you know. So
yeah, there's I don't want to like dig my own grave here. There's more than I think a lot of people realise still. But not as much as previously. And even in my career, man, I've only coming on 7 years now, it's changed dramatically again.
Well, look, cultures are supposed to change. They're supposed to change and adapt and evolve as times go on. But if, you know, if things, you know, if that culture has a negative effect on performance, you know, then what's the point? You know, what was the point of that, you know, that rule or that disciplining action to try and, you know, to inflict that change? So
the one thing I'll say, which I've seen significantly, is there's no one super unfit at the unit. When I first got there, like 14, 15, there was people like properly like obese, like just not fit on the average fitness. Like you're like, how the fuck are you here? Like what? You'd be $130. You're not injured. You just, what the fuck? But now, like, there's none of those sacks anymore. Like, I think they're moved on a lot quicker now. Or they just don't. Because it's funny, because I was talking about the other day with the other secos, like, what's come in to stop that? Because a lot of the PES has dropped significantly. There's no gates at Singleton. But we tend to have an average higher fitness. I'm not sure exactly why. But it's definitely been some massaging there to have that all happen, which is a good thing. Not only for combat capability, but that refers into their injuries as well. And we don't have actually we have a massive injury problem.
Massive.
Right at the moment, I won't give you exact numbers, but we have it's close to 30 to 40% of J31 or below. In the unit. And the problem, I was talking to the OC a while back about it, who I did a little bit with the West human performance dudes as well. And a lot of the problem we're seeing in the infantry, 2 things. One, because there's no gate at Singo anymore, being the 45 kilo Pezza, that you never do that there. And then you come to a battalion and it's like, I know you haven't done it, but we're going to field camp. This is 50 kilos. Like, there's no, and we're going to cover 60 kilometers over the next, week and a half. It's not a gate. It's no nothing, but you're carrying this. You're carrying the Mag 58 you lit. But there's also the problem is because, this is what those guys are saying. It's bigger again because the people recruiting were never as fit as we were as kids, or even the previous generation. We didn't jump off things, and we didn't run around, and we didn't play in the school ground. It's a massive structural issue we're having. That people's bones, and you can develop muscles and whatever in months to short years. You can't develop that bone structure. That's a lot longer to develop the bones in your feet, so you don't get stress fractures. And like a lot of those other issues, which are served by just time on that injury. A lot of kids were running around of my generation or before. You run around the playground and you jump off this and you do that, and you're carrying your mate and you're being a fucking dickhead. But that all is breaking those tiny little bones and rebuilding them just stronger and stronger and stronger over years, though. And then,
So what you're saying, Willy, is all these young diggers now are all weak as fucking piss.
well, man, if you look at their bone
I'm
structure,
joking.
well, yeah, true, but we're starting to
There's a
know
lot. I read a
injuries.
I read a paper just recently. They did it was an injury where all the injuries were coming from with defence, and not so much infantry specifically. It was defence wide, and most of the injuries were lower limb. They're all musculoskeletal, all right, and soft tissue, all right. So we're looking at essentially shins and feet and stuff like that, and it was all done on surfaces of hard surface like concrete. And so I think PDIs are going to have to adjust their way of operating in the future somehow by not conducting so many runs or forced marches. I know like at Kapuka and stuff like that, to lower the risk, the risk of an activity like with like doing a 5K introductory to pack marching. It's the cost benefit's probably better to do it on the concrete because you're not going to have shit bags tripping on their dicks and shit like that. But because they do it on the concrete, they exacerbate such bad issues in their lower limbs. This is where they get all the shin splints and stress fractures from. And I just found it really interesting reading this paper that it was all lower limb, it was all soft tissue mainly, and it was all from hard surfaces. And it was just like, far out, really? Most of our injuries are coming from concrete. I'm like we drive around out in the scrub, we do section attacks, and like the amount of times I've fire and moved over freaking rock, over rock and fallen over gullies and freaking impaled myself on the freaking end of a freaking minimi and shit like that, to be then told later in life that most injuries are all going to be soft tissue from hard surfaces. I'm like, no shit. Who hasn't freaking done forced marches and stuff like that on concrete? And then everyone's got shin splints afterwards. Yeah. Everyone's got them.
Yeah, and shit boots and whatever.
Everyone. Oh, I actually got my old red backs, and I pulled them on the other day, and I went, how the fuck did we wear this shit? Yeah. Like, they were so uncomfortable. They are like, and they're worn in. They would have been worn in like, good 4 or 5 month boots. They're worn in, and they felt like shit. They felt like shit. And I was lucky enough to serve in Generation 1 boots, and I left in Generation 7 boots. Jeez. And that was when the directive came in to go, you can wear Altamas and you can wear these ones and these ones and these ones. I'm like, fuck you. So, yeah, good times at the Fun Factory.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a fucking worry, all the fucking injuries, and probably goes into people are carrying more weight on them too now, like a bit more fat or whatever. Like, or even if it comes down to guys that are carrying more muscle, a lot of dudes are doing more like your bodybuilding style gym than just being a skinny little rat grunt.
Absolutely. Or if we go down the rabbit hole, you've got something like CrossFit. Everyone's gone down. Everyone loves that kind of those Metcon workouts, those high intensity movements where you're doing thrusters and deadlifts and box jumps and chin ups and stuff like that. But CrossFit's not known for their running. You've got to have impact. So you'd know when you're starting out running. If you had 2 months off and then you went out and ran 15 Ks, you are fucked. Yeah. All right, you are fucked. Your joints would be absolutely smoked. The fascia on your feet and stuff like that would be absolutely murked. You have to ease into it. CrossFitters are not known for their running ability. They're known for their rowing and their other, salt bikes and stuff like that. And the job of a standard soldier requires you to be on your feet and have the same kind of impact that you get from walking related movements and running related movements. And yet we don't do enough of it, No. So it's, I don't know. It's, we could go down a rabbit hole when it comes to specificity with training. Not one method is suitable for everybody. So when you've got that PDI that's running the generic, this is not an attack at the PDI at all, because they have to do their syllabus and their programs that are dictated to them and stuff, and they have to cater for everybody. So most of the time, a circuit kind of workout works well because they can control. They can potentially have multiple people and multiple lines and have all the equipment, and it's a good little workout. But really, someone that enjoys running, right, and you're forcing them to do to do weights, they're not going to enjoy it. Or vice versa, you've got someone that wants to go to the gym and is a gym rat, and you're forcing them to run, they're not going to enjoy it. So you've got to find a healthy balance between the two, really, because, and this is the issue with the army. I think maybe this is the reason also why I never enjoyed fitness in the army. I hated it. I hated training. I hated doing PTI sessions. I hated PT in the mornings. Also because I was just shit. I was just a lazy lump of shit. All right. I was a disgusting fat body of a human being. But I don't think I ever found what my niche was, what worked well for my body and what's going to assist at taking it to another level. And so, if you think about that, you've got a company of soldiers, you've got, 90 infantry soldiers, and each one of those people is going to have a different variable that's going to let them work at their optimal level, but then we're all forcing them into this one kind of mold. It's like, get in there. Like we're Play-Doh soldiers. It's like, no, we will do chin-ups, and yes, we will do a 5K road march, and then while you're at it, we're going to go up and do a PDI's bloody pole session. So we walk around like we got decent muscles, but then as soon as we go bush, we lose all the disco muscles anyway, and we all come back looking like biafrans and stuff like that anyway, because we can't maintain our gains out bush. So
fuck, I get asked about that every day. Can I take protein off, like young lads get in the army? Like, can I take protein powder at field? I'm like, don't waste your money.
Mate, carry it. Yeah, no shit. You can carry it. Your pack's going to look like a freaking human being sitting on your back with the tubs that are like bloody, big 6 kilo tubs of powder.
Tins of tuna.
Wow, far out. Or use this time as a time to reflect and enjoy intermittent fasting or being a vegetarian of the ration packed sort. I don't know.
Fuck, yeah. Fuck, I don't miss that shit.
No.
One of the big ones, man, but I am surprised I've had no injuries, but I guess it's almost a testament to it. And this, like, the opinion is so divided on this shit. In like year 11, when I first started getting into running, because I saw a fucking David Goggins clip, like one of his original ones. And I was like,
well, probably one of the Under Armour ones or something. Was it one of the ones he was like running through the desert, like along the dunes and stuff? That was one of the ones where I was like, this guy's badass. This guy's a fucking,
and I was like,
he's running along the dunes.
Yeah. And I can guarantee, David Goggins is a tough cut and he's fit as fuck. There's no way he maintained that pace through that terrain.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I was looking at it like, fuck no, that's like sand dune. But yeah, I got right into running distance, man. And then, I was fucking light then too. And then I read, Born to Run, and got into barefoot running in like either Vibrams or like some sort of zero drop shoe. And from mid-year 11 till current day, I haven't worn a traditional sneaker ever. It's a barefoot shoe only. And I have had zero lower body issues. And I'm like, probably like I've done all my battle running at Singo and all my body armor runs and everything, always in barefoot shoes. And I'm like I'm not telling anyone to do it, but fuck, I rate that shit, man. I reckon it's good.
I ran my first minimalist shoe was when I was working at Rebel Sport, and that's when those Nike 3.0s and 5.0s came out, and they were like the first kind of curvy, and it was the most conventional kind of, or the commercial minimalist shoe that came out. And I tried on a pair of them, and man, I reckon I'll go about a kilometre into a run. I felt like my Achilles was going to snap, and I was like, oh shit. And I gradually just worked up to it, to the stage that, I've pretty much been running for the last 10 odd years in a minimalist shoe. I can't wear a big chunky shoe on my foot anymore, because not to mention they feel heavier as well. Like I noticed the extra kind of 50 to 100 grams on each foot, but they just that position that'll put your foot in, but you've got to ease into it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It absolutely smokes you. Like it felt like my Achilles was going to snap. So, but I've done a lot of big run. I've done pretty much all my big runs in a minimalist shoe, mainly Innovates. I like an Innovate shoe.
I'm wearing Innovates now, actually. Yeah.
Are you? Yeah, good brand.
Actually, you'd know from 3. Do you know Stu Mole? Stuart Mole. I can't pronounce his last name.
Molyneux? Molyneux?
Yeah. He
Yeah.
if you're after some or some Vibrams, hit him up.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah. I
second.
ran into him not long ago, but he was actually Stewie was the guy that signed me off because he was a personal trainer when we were at 3 Hour, and when I was discharging, he signed me off on all my work hours. So I did all my programming. He signed me off on all that. So he's the reason I actually passed my certification, because I didn't know any personal trainers. So
Yeah.
I didn't know any. So,
Fuck.
but yeah, small world. Shit. But you're going to run 100 kilometers.
Yeah, man. I've done never in a single of that distance, but when I was year 12, I was averaging before and after school about 120 to 150 a week. So I've had
That's a lot
experience.
of mileage.
Yeah, it was fucked, man. I got like full on addicted. Like I'd wake up, what time? School 9, but I'd wake up early, like 5, and do like 15, 16 Ks in the morning, and then go to school. And the thing is with school, man, I lived in Warrnambool of Taurus. It's a country town. But the bus, because I had to take 2 buses to get home through an interchange, I'd either get home at like 4:45, or my parents finished work at 5, but I finished school at 3:30. So I could either be home only 15 minutes later and go home with my parents, or catch an hour and a bit of buses. So I was like, fuck this. I'm going to just go home with my parents. So I'd run in the morning, and then I'd have like an hour and a half solid block of running in the afternoon. And then it depended if I ran after that as well. So I could easily average 30 Ks a day. And still within fucking normal work hours currently anyway. Of an adult.
God,
And I was just clicking up those miles, man. I fucking I was fucking addicted. So I'm sort of like, I know my body can do those miles. And I know I have that baseline, because I had a longish period off, but I like did that, then army, then, some treatment, but then that wasn't long enough off to sort of turn back any structural thing. So I'm like, look, my body can do it. It's still going to have that baseline. But I say, man, that's one of the big reasons I've never been injured in the army either. Was I had those miles on my feet. Well, they could do those miles.
Yeah.
But man, I was addicted then. Like all that Goggins fucking minimalist shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I ran. So when I got out, and I was chasing for something when I was at Rebel Sport, and I was doing boot camps and stuff in Sydney, and I ran my first 100-kilometer run when I got out of the army, and I just trained. I trained like a demon for it, but I was running because I hate running. I hate running. I still hate running. I hate it with a passion. But I run because I suck at it. I hate running, so therefore I run. And so I ran 100K in 19 hours 50 minutes. So it's not. Finished it. Cool. That was cool. But that kind of gave me the bug a bit, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, here we go. And then I went to do it the next year and didn't finish it, injured myself. Wife did it the next year after that. I did it the 4th year, injured myself. And so we had this run of just not finishing this distance. And, you're still running 50, 60 odd Ks, in this race. But for us to not finish the 100, these other set times was a big kick in the ass. And so, I've looked around. I've done a couple other ultras and stuff since. I've done a survival run and a couple other, the worst ultra, I shouldn't say the worst. Sean from Mountain Sports. Okay, so this guy, Sean Greenhill, who lives up in the Blue Mountains. All right, he's got this company called Mountain Sports, and he's like the ultra race guru when it comes to putting the hardest races together. And so I did his race called the Honslow.
Yeah.
And it's 68 kilometers in the Blue Mountains, and it's got 4.5 kilometers of elevation. And I remember looking it up on the internet, going, I want to do the hardest race I could do. It's reasonably close, and it was number 2 in Australia as the hardest race in Australia, and actually called a Sky Marathon, a Sky Ultra Marathon, because it's more about the vertical as opposed to the distance.
Yeah.
And I remember running that, and I was on the side of this cliff and I wasn't even halfway and I was fucked. My legs were cramping so bad and I gave my salt tablets to my mate who was kilometers ahead, and I called my wife up and I'm like, oh, she's like, how you going? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And she's like, pretty much, shut the fuck up. You decided to sign up for the second hardest race in Australia. Pull your fucking finger out, get going. And I was like, okay, love you too, bye. And I went, okay, better get going. And we had twins at the time, so she was looking after the 3 kids at home by herself while I was up in the mountains having a sook on the side of a mountain. So those words of encouragement were a good kick fair in the freaking dickhole that got me moving. So, but that race was up. That was one of the hardest things. And I've had a lot of army guys that have asked me and go, oh yeah, but you know, we've done things harder in the army. And I'm like, no. You got no idea. This race was one of the hardest races I've ever completed. And it was way harder than anything I've done. Don't get me wrong. Some of the things in the army, they sucked. You know, walking along, stomping around with a pack on your back for 2 or 3 weeks, and you just not shower and just living in a hole and doing attacks and just getting smoked all the time, and then getting back and they're like, oh, no leave, dickheads. Oh, yeah, we need an enemy party up in Townsville again. Oh, get the fuck back up to Townsville. And then you're back up there for another 2 weeks, and it's just like this, sequence of shit. That single event, oh man, it humbles you. It literally checks your ego, and if you want a challenge, that's the type of thing to do. And supposed to do the 100 UTA, Ultra Trail Australia, 100K race in a couple of days' time up in the Blue Mountains. But obviously, thank you Corona, fuck you, cancelled it, and they've rescheduled for October. Good luck, UTA. Good luck that your race is going to be open. And so that's why I decided I did that Goggins challenge last weekend.
You did you do it, Josh, as well? Because he was talking about it.
No. Josh did it with me.
Yeah, right.
He did it with me. I'm the one that came up with, hey, we should do this. So Josh has obviously already talked about it, and experiences vary. It was tough. It was tough. Physically, it was kind of much the same as you would kind of having maybe 2 days after an ultra, like of the same distance. So it was 76.8. The fatigue in your muscles was probably about the same as you would have after about 2 days after you run 76 kilometers. So it was bad, but you didn't have the impact related soreness. So you didn't have the pain in the knees, and the hip extensors weren't really tight, and your feet were pretty good as well. Just due to having like a period of rest and recovery in between. But that's also a catch-22 because, you've got to try and maybe sleep in that time, and then you've got to eat, and then you're watching the clock constantly, and the clock just goes and moves so fast that by the time you finish and you have a shower and you go and have a feed and you fuck around with the kids for bloody, 20, 30 minutes, you look at the clock and you're like less than an hour and I've got to run again. And you're like, shit.
Yeah.
Maybe I should put that stubby down. I'm not going to bloody have a beer now because I've got to go and run again. And then the cycle starts, and you just do that for 48 hours. It just kicks you fair in the arse. Yeah, so it was, I won't go into it because Joshy probably went into it a bit, but it was, it's a really, really challenging, ultra to do, and probably good for people as an introductory into it, because you could hit 50K quite comfortably after about a day and a half, and you're only really losing one night. You're having a little bit of rough sleep, and it's a good way for people to kind of work their way into an ultra. I wish I knew that way back 10 years ago, and instead of just jumping in the fishbowl and just running 100K straight off the cuff. So,
but people have fucking time to do it. Like normally, I tell you get fucked because I'm like, well, I'm not going to do it Friday afternoon after work, finish Sunday morning and go to work Monday. But now people have fucking time in the world.
Well, that's it, and you try not to. I've got a home gym like yourself, fully kitted out, bumper plates and racks, and I've got rollers and assault bikes and stuff like that. And I try not to publicise it too much because I don't want to, go, fuck you, everybody, I got a gym.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I publicise it.
You go for gold though, mate. You're untouchable.
I text my mates occasionally and be like, hey, how good is this? And just send them a photo of me in the gym. Like, you're a fuckhead.
Yeah. Fuck you. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But it's it's you've got this gym and you kind of like you gotta like it's there. I've got a gym. You've got a gym in your garage, and you can literally put down whatever you're doing right now and walk out and start training. Like I'm going to go and squat after this, you know. And so the flexibility of that is amazing. But it's one of those things you've got to adapt to your environment. Like if you typically go to a gym, and now the gym's not open, and you like to exercise, then motherfucker, replace that shit. All right, replace it with something, man. Just start running. Oh, I don't like running. Okay, do fucking burpees. I don't like burpees. All right, fucking do some push-ups or some dips and shit. Just start doing. Seriously, we're going to come out of this rock show, and there's going to be the people that have done shit and the people that haven't done shit.
Yeah.
It's literally going to be a very, very clear line. There's not going to be people that have been, I did a little bit. No, you're that person that did nothing. You did absolutely dick all. All right, and I think personally as well, their character is going to be different as well. I think there's going to be a really stark contrast between people that were really active and use this time as a period of self-growth and, character development and stuff, and people that just kind of were, I wouldn't say the word lazy, not because I don't want to insult them, because I'd happily say, hey, you're fucking lazy to their face. I'd happily say that. But I think that they just got comfortable. I think that people are just going to get very comfortable, having sleep-ins and having access to their fridge all the time, and only having, they don't have their commutes now, so now they've got extra hours to, watch the freaking brain box and shit. Oh, Willy, if I could tell you some of the excuses I listen to. Oh shit!
Trust me, man, I get it too. I get all this shit about like
far out
on Instagram and things.
The two big ones. The two big ones. I don't have time. I don't have time.
Right.
All right. You do have time.
Yeah.
Because I bet that if there was a TV series and you went on Netflix that you really liked, and if you looked at it and it's got 10 episodes and each one's an hour long, so that's 10 hours. I guarantee it. If you're motivated, like you could be for exercise, you're motivated. You could probably watch that in 2 or 3 nights. You'd watch that. Wow, you've got time. They use that freaking saying, "Oh, I need to have some me time." Me time. Me time is training time.
Oh, man, I love training for me time. It's fucking, I'm in the gym.
Me time is fucking training time.
Fucking shirtless. I got meatloaf on. Man, I do every one time a week, and this is my fucking favorite day of the week. Normally, either I'm deadlifting or squatting, but I have a meatloaf only gym day. So I just go on Spotify, just look up meatloaf, and whatever I'm doing that day in the gym, it's just meatloaf. It's fucking sick.
I've been playing the Rock of Ages, that shit movie with Tom Cruise in it. Yeah, so you look up that on Spotify, but look up the actual proper one of the playlists is the actual songs for it, so not their shitty sung version. It's a fantastic playlist, fantastic. I play it in the car and the kids sing it and shit, and they're like, "I want to rock."
Yeah, so good.
Excellent.
There's one called the COVID-19 playlist too, and it's so good, man. It's just like the first song is like Britney Spears' "Toxic," and then it's like "Don't Touch Me," and all these songs, and it's like all these. It's fucking funny, man. Just the titles in it are savage. Oh, it's so good.
All Corona specials, eh?
Yeah, man. So what was the second excuse you were going to say?
Oh, the other one's I'm in a funk, or I don't have motivation, and it's like, what? Okay, now I'm going to call you fucking lazy, okay? Because go and find it.
Yeah,
go and find it, okay? If you're in a funk, go and find some motivation. Go and find it. It's not just going to come and knock on the door and go, hey, dickhead, hey, I'm motivation. I'm here to motivate you. No, you've got to go out and find it. Go and look at some Goggin stuff or some Jocko, or, go and listen to some freaking death metal or something, whatever's going to, wind you up like a firecracker to go and
take your shirt off and look
induce some form of change. Yeah. Just what's going to fire you up enough to warrant you to go and do something, So
Oh yeah.
those two are the biggest ones that I can't slap people, like digitally slap people around the head enough, especially this Corona stuff. It's just like, I don't know.
The thing is, man, like 1 hour of working out, 1 hour is 4% of your day. And it's incredible what you can do in half an hour is 2% of a day. That's it, of a total 24-hour day. Honestly, half an hour, if you smash half an hour, you can get a fucking lot done. Like I went for a half-hour run yesterday, like best pace for 30 minutes, and I was fucking cooked. And then, I spent a bit of time stretching and shit after too. But like, man, 2 to 4% of your day, and you're fucking you're in the 1% of fucking fitness. You're on your way to be anyway.
That Goggins challenge, that was tough because, like, obviously the people around, like my wife had to pick up the, the workload and stuff like that to look after, because you're kind of useless. Like, at nighttime, you're fucking stupid. You're just like, But some of the other challenges I've done, we just did a push-up challenge last month, and we were doing a race between me and my instructors to first person to 5,000 push-ups. And so we got cracking onto that, and me and this one person were cracking pretty hard, and we were like, oh well, 5's what all these other pussies are doing. Let's do 6. Let's do 6,000. And so we're like, okay. And so 6 became 10, and then 10 became 20. So we did 20,000 push-ups last month.
Jesus.
And it's a lot of push-ups.
That's a lot. I was trying to work it out per day.
Yeah, so it's about 690 or 670, something like that a day. So, and it's like, how do you find the time to do 600 regardless of it? And I've had a lot of people that are going, oh, I don't have time to do that shit. It's like, dude, I'm running a full-time business. I get up early to train people. I have 3 kids, 2 of which are 3. Right, and they're as freaking rat bag as freaking ridiculous, and 1 who's getting homeschooled. He's 6, so I've got 3 kids. I've got my wife that's at home, that's got a government job that we have to work around her, so because she has to work. Right. Then I've got to train myself, right, and I also want to spend some time with my kids. So how the fuck did I find time to do 670 push-ups? Well, every couple of minutes, whenever I feel like, I just drop down and do 30 push-ups or 20 or 40, whatever it is. And I just chuck a little tally on top of the mantelpiece, and then I continue on. I'm laying on the ground with the kids watching freaking Cars for the 3rd fucking time in the day. Right? That's a lot of push-ups you can do. It's a lot of time. Right? You're laying on the ground, you roll over, you do push-ups. And then the parents are like, oh, but every time I go to exercise, my kids or dog jump on me. Yeah, eventually they'll get sick of you doing that. Right? They'll get sick of doing it, and they'll just stop doing it because it's just become a habit that they see you doing it all the time. And so you can punch these push-ups out all the time. And so you could do that for any exercise. You could do that I did that for burpees when I was studying at uni to stay awake. So big study days, instead of just going like this all day and making coffee and, drinking water and just, procrastinating and shit, I set myself and did a couple of 100 burpees for the day. And I think I was setting the alarm for 20, I was doing every 20 minutes, my alarm would go off and I had to do 25 burpees.
Yeah.
And so you're sitting there working and the alarm goes off and you go do 25 burpees. Right? That only takes you a minute and a half, 2 minutes. You come back, you reset your alarm, and boom, you get another 20 minutes. Now, heart rate's just gone up. You've got a bit of a sweat, blood pressure's increased, your cognitive ability's improved, and you actually get some good work done. And then suddenly the alarm goes off again, and you just do that, and you do that process for 3 or 4 hours. Next minute, you've incidentally got, 200 or 300 burpees done. You've studied really efficiently, and then you could go and train. Or if you wanted to have a beer afterwards, and you're just like, I'm cooked, I'm done. Well, that's it. So people need to learn to prioritize their time a little bit better, because far out, it's like, it doesn't. You don't have to, You don't have to have degrees and freaking, you have to go to special schools and shit to learn how to manage your time. It just, it becomes a situation in your environment that you just have to adapt to what you've got. Like when I was doing my data collection for my research that I did a couple of years ago, the twins were born, and then I had a 3-year-old, and I was running the business, and I was doing my data. I was writing a thesis.
Mm.
And I'm sitting there going, I look back at it now and go, how the fuck did I do that? That was on like 4 hours of sleep a night. 4 hours of sleep. And I was still training that whole time as well. Still running and doing other strength-based stuff as well. So you just make it work. But it's people who just want to find the lazy route to shit and, you know, the path of least resistance. It's the best way of explaining it.
Yeah.
You know, no growth comes from that shit.
No. But humans
and then you sit back in times like now, and you sit back and you're like, fuck, what do I do with all my time? And now you go and find other shit to do. And now you can go and, you know, punch out more podcasts, and you can write, you know, more chapters and write more words. You know, I'm trying to write a book at the moment as well. Ask me how many words I've got.
I don't know. There, fuck. Man,
None.
I'm at 30,000.
I'm reading because mine's all referenced from other textbooks and books and shit like that. Yeah. So yeah, but far out. I don't envy you and you're writing escapades, because like you got to be pretty creative to punch that stuff out. You know, you can't force words. That's the thing. You could sit in front of your computer for an hour and write nothing. You could write 200 words and then re-look at it and go, that's all shit.
That's why there's an apology in the start of my book. It's like, hey, for those who know, I'm a fucking grunt and I swear a lot. And I didn't really do well at school. So there'll be a lot of swearing in this. There'll be a fuckload of sex stories, and just fucking suck it up, or you've bought the book already, so thanks for the $30. And then I'm like, I said it, and I'm like, the start of anything is shit. The start of any run is shit. The start of any podcast is shit. So the start of the book will be awkward and shit too. Chapter 1, losing my virginity, and then it's just straight in, because I was like, fuck it. Once I start, I'm good. Like, it's like getting up in the morning to run. Once you're out the door, you're fine. And I was like, I just need that sort of out the door. I'm like, I'm just going to talk about losing my virginity. It'd be fucking funny. And then we can just dive into fucking weird shit from there.
Do you know that when we did that Goggins challenge last weekend, Josh probably would have talked about it in the other podcast about how feral the weather was. Yeah. Well, the weather was
like 7
horrendous. But the wind, like I live up on a high on a mountain just outside of Canberra, and the wind up here, it was 60k an hour. It was a minus wind chill. Yeah. It was raining. So it was raining and windy, and it was just shit, absolute shit. And I remember standing there, like as soon as I wake up and all I've got is negative thoughts. Yeah. All I've got is negative thoughts in my head. And it's just like, you are a pussy. Go back to sleep. Like every negative thing that I could say in my head, I was saying. But because I had my clothes at my feet and I'm used to waking up as soon as my alarm goes off, I had all those negative thoughts. And while those negative thoughts are happening, I'm getting dressed. My body has got such a routine for operating at that time of the morning, or just operating when your alarm goes off. I was able to get dressed, walk out the door, and still got negative thoughts. And I'll go downstairs and I've got my freaking headphones and I chuck them on, get my headlamp, chuck my beanie and jackets, and I'm still going, no, come on, man, it's fucking cold. I don't want to do this. And zip the jacket up, and I get to the front door and I'm trying to put my shoes on. My knees are sore, and I'm just going, no one would know if I just sat one out. And it's like, I can just blame Strava for not recording the run. And, it's too cold. Most people wouldn't care. You know, most people, wouldn't care that I missed out on this run, because, it's feral. It's absolutely feral. All you can hear is the door rattling and shit. And then I'm still just putting the shoes on. And then all I did was open the door, walk out. And then as soon as I stood out, I closed the door, and the wind's just like, and you just stand there going, this is fucked. And then I put my headlamp on. And then all I did was take the first step and start jogging. And that was it. And I didn't think about the weather after that first step was taken. And that whole period, for the 15 minutes from my alarm going off to 15 minutes later, me walking out the door, I had nothing but negative thoughts in my head. Absolutely nothing but negative thoughts. But because I'd had everything lined up, I even knew what Spotify playlist I was going to listen to. Yeah. I had it all lined up. Everything was set up. So there was absolutely no thought to do with it. And, that was it. And the run was good after that, and time went quick, and the weather was shit, but time went quick. Had some Kanye on. I was just like doing the lines, trying to do my best black rap and shit. And then next minute, the run's finished, and I can go back to bed.
I'm going to take a piss, and I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
I bet you can't do it in 30 seconds.
I can do less than 30 seconds. Oh, shit.
All right.
Out of my chair, that is.
So while Willy's gone, let's have a little story. All right, let's have a little story. All right. So far, Willy's been gone for 10 seconds, and he's still not going to be back in time. So there was once a dragon. All right, he was a red dragon. All right, his name was Fred. Fred liked to drink a lot, and in his journey, Fred used to fly around a lot. He used to crash into things. Right? His friends used to tell him, "Hey, Fred, maybe you shouldn't drink and fly at the same time." And Fred's like, Come on, guys. No need for that. How long's he been gone for? Longer than 30 seconds.
Have you hijacked me?
I was just telling him a story about a dragon named Fred.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get to finish it. I got preoccupied counting in my head how long you were gone for.
How long was it?
Oh, about 40 odd.
Fuck. I feel awful lot fucking lighter after that. Jesus.
Oh dear. Well, look, and so it just comes down to routines. If people can find better routines in anything, writing a book, going for a run, even going to the gym, putting on the right music in your car that's going to motivate you. So by the time you get in your car, you can get in the car unmotivated. If you've got to drive to the gym, get in the car while you're unmotivated, that in the 15, 20 minutes it takes you to get there, that by the time you walk in through the door of the gym, you're ready to rock and roll. Yeah. Right? You've got to find something in that window. When do you write your book? When do you write your book?
Straight after I go for my walk in the morning. So I go get my coffee.
Yep.
I get up, cook brekkie, walk, get a coffee. And as soon as I'm back, whatever time that is, let's just say 10 a.m. And I'm straight into writing. And man, it's only it's 35 minutes of hard work. 35, 40 hard. I'm sitting here fucking typing. It's not that hard. 35, 40 minutes, 1,000 words. And I limit myself too. So I don't cook it. I do 1,000 words and that's it. Even if I have more in me, I finish the sentence and stop. So then I know, well, I've got somewhere to pick up tomorrow and then do it. So I limit it. Otherwise I do 6,000 and not write for a month. And then that's it. And then I go and I'll do whatever else I'm doing for the day. And that's just.
And when you're writing, do you set your environment up so it's the same nearly every time? So do you sit in the same seat? You face the same direction? You have your laptop or your computer on the same tilt? Do you put music on, or do you have the TV on or something like that? Or
normally some sort of background noise, but I'm just fucking I sit on the other side of this desk on my other chair. It's facing sort of fuck all. But man, the best thing in here is you can see all this fucking sound deadening shit in this room. It's so nice. It's so nice, man. Like you sit in here and there's you don't actually notice because your ear's so used to just background noise of shit. And then you walk in and it gets used to like echoes as well. You don't notice it in your house. You walk into a room like this, it's been treated, man, and it's almost like calming. It's just like if you have, whatever, like sort of study music level shit on, because a lot of times I just open that YouTube, like study music fucking stream, whatever they have. And it's just real quiet, no echo, like not distracting, write my words, and then I can go do whatever the fuck I want from there.
Yeah. Do you, I found when I was writing my thesis, I could only write so I used to, I have to leave home at 5 o'clock to be able to make it to go to my morning boot camps. So I leave at 5 o'clock. And I wake up at 4:25. So I would wake up at 3:25 and do my whole morning routine. So I'd have a shower, get dressed, have my coffee, and then I'd sit down. And so instead of leaving at 5, at 4 o'clock, I'd be able to sit down at my table. And this is at the dining table, and I would be able to write. And I did pretty much 90% of my writing for my research thesis, all done between the hours of 4 and 5 a.m. Listening to Colombian cafe music because it was just this one YouTube playlist that I would put on every time. It's just background, and I found that if I worked anywhere else at any other time of the day, my brain was working at a different frequency, and I couldn't put two and two together. And so I've struggled with that, trying to find that frequency post all my studies are finished, trying to find that optimal level where I can sit down and work like I used to. Because I look back at that and I go, man, I got so much work done, like so much. Before I get in the car to go and teach people, before 5 o'clock in the morning, I've written, 300, 400, 500 words. For me, it wasn't about writing 1,000 words. It was about just going through the motions, spending the time in front of the computer and trying to put the words together, because it was a science paper. So if I could put 50 words together, it was a win. If I put 350, 400 words, I'm like, fucking winner, chicken dinner. So it's ready to, I'm ready to go. But yeah, I've struggled to find that. And I actually learnt those techniques about replicating your environment from one of the Tim Ferriss podcasts ages and ages ago, where he talks about replicating your environment. So once you find your optimal environment to be able to work at, like your frequency, then not to fuck with it. And so he said that when he wrote, I think it was the 4-Hour Work Week, he had, I think he said Anchorman or Dodgeball or something on in the background, but he played that same movie every single day. So it was in the background, and that's how he was able to do it. So, and I found that worked well for me, but this is an ongoing struggle for me now, is to try and find that optimal frequency again to be able to write.
I do a lot late, so I find I'm up significantly later now, and then waking up significantly. Like normally, I'm a 10 till 6 guy in bed, for work, PT in the morning and whatever. But now I'm like a 2, 3 a.m. to 8, 9 a.m. guy. Because I like doing my sort of creative process, I guess, at night. So editing clips, I have a lot of thoughts later of like what for like a post, or what I'm going to say in a vlog, or like a video or something. And I prefer to like sort of, because I sort of feel like I'd rather my screen time be late because it's not sunny outside. So I'm like, if I'm going to be editing whatever for however long, or studying whatever for a video or whatever, I'll do that late when it's dark, rather than in the day when I could be either just sitting out fucking side or doing something. So I sort of I've changed into that routine. But man, my gym at the moment, so I run every second day and gym every other day. And some cross days, but that's sort of where I'm at the moment. But I'm gymming. So I've been, and this is another fucking rabbit hole, because I was like, I'm never going to get another.
Let's go down it. Go down it.
I'm like, I'm never going to get another opportunity to do this where I've got the time. I could do it, but I wouldn't have the ability to commit. I've gone full carnivore diet, meat only. Yes. Meat and eggs.
I've seen that on your social media. I've seen that.
Well, I haven't put it out there because I have so many.
Your steak. Yeah.
Not just steak. I eat a lot of, I like a bit of pork belly. It's really important to get a lot of fats in. And depending on what you're eating, that can be the hardest thing to get. But like all good grass-fed steak and whatever. But yeah, anyway, say I reverse sear a steak every night. You put your steak out and salt it and whatever and leave it for 30 minutes. And then it needs 30 minutes in the oven. So I'll get my steak out, salt it, whatever, and I've got 30 minutes of it waiting on the table to get to room temperature. So I go to the gym, set 30 minutes just look at my fucking watch. 30 minutes, come in, put it on a tray, put it in the oven, another 30 minutes. That's a full hour of working out. Come in, sear the steak, just put a minute each side, steer. Done. And
who needs protein powder when you got a steak?
Man, I tell you, I was talking to Josh a little bit about this last night. I have a pretty, I'd say, even before this, a lot better than an average diet. Even if it's an average diet, like, yeah, I eat out and whatever, but I, at least Monday to Friday, every day is meal planned for me at work, freeze whatever, and, veggies and rice, whatever. And even just as if you put thought process into meal planning, it's going to be significantly better than, fuck, I didn't bring lunch, I'm going to get Subway or I'm going to get Macca's. Like any thought process into it is going to be better, especially if you do it.
Fail to plan to fail.
Yeah, especially if you do it, man, when you're not hungry on like a Sunday. You're like, oh, I've just had Sunday lunch. I'm going to make my meals for the week. I'm not hungry. So you're like, oh, veggies and this and that. They're not too big, whatever. Man, I have never had more long-term energy than being carnivore only. It's fucking incredible, bro.
Yeah. Well, look, when it comes to, either being full vegan, vegetarian or Presbyterian or whatever, or going full carnivore or I usually sit around the middle and we float depending on what my wife cooks. She's like, we've had too much meat. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, come on. We live on a farm. We've got access to meat. We can cut meat up whenever we want to. Or, we've got veggie gardens. We've got access to shit tons of veggies and stuff like that. There's no right or wrong way to eat. It's ultimately how you feel. I hate the arguments where people try to get shit and they force it down your mouth. And it's like, okay, do you really want to pull the science in on this shit? Okay, if you speak to any of the leading nutritionists, I bet if you averaged all the leading nutritionists and got all their opinions, all right, they are all going to come back with a balanced diet. Yeah. That is a balance between eating meat and eating vegetables. However, everybody is different, okay? Some people's bodies operate differently. I've got a guy that I train who he's had stomach issues and inflammation issues, and he dumped all vegetables and fruits and stuff, and he went carnivore, and it's just fixed everything up. And he introduced a couple little things in, and he's been carnivore now for about a year, and he's feeling great. He's feeling great. Whereas I know other people that have dumped meat and no problem, dropped heaps of weight, got energy. Whereas me, I've eaten just meat. I've eaten a carnivore-esque kind of diet about 9 years ago, and I broke out in hives and stuff like that. And I was taking a multivitamin. It just didn't work that good for me. And then I've eaten vegetarian, like no meat for, a period of time, and it didn't necessarily break me out in hives, but I just didn't feel right. And so for me, I feel balanced. But ultimately, whatever works for you, trial and error. But don't sit there and, if you're and I'm just going to throw this out there, all right? Like if you're a vegetarian and you're sitting there saying, this is the only way to eat, this is the most ethical way to eat. And it's kind of like, well, let's put you and Joe Bloggs together, all right? And let's see how well you guys work. And not just from a physical point of view, from a brain capacity as well, all right? And let's just see who's working at a more optimal level right now, okay? And if you want to walk around in some version that you just feel like is the most socially accepted version right now, then fill your freaking boots, all right? But ultimately, don't get caught up in the herd mentality and, work, make it work for you ultimately. Even being on the carnivore diet, shit, and you just kind of go, man, I feel like some sweet potato. Boom, roast that shit. Fantastic. It's called being reactive and being flexible with your diet, And then if we go the other way and start talking about, ketogenic diets and Atkins diets and low carb diets and bloody every major diet that we've got at the moment, okay, there are not many of them that people have been able to sustain for a long period of time. All right. There is freaking Buckley. That's right. There's not a lot of academic research, all right, a lot of peer-reviewed research that have longitudinal studies, right, long-term studies that actually have anything to back up the benefit of these individual diets. You got someone that's like, oh, you've been keto for 2 years. Okay, cool. All right. What type of effect is that having on your body? No, you can't say what effect that's having on your body because you have no idea. All you've done is read Google. All right, and being told by some freaking whiz-bang freaking guru on bodybuilding.com who thinks he knows all, wham bam, thank you ma'am, knows everything. All right, and you're literally just you know, just working on, like, you might as well walk around in the dark with a flashlight instead of turn the lights on.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah, man.
you know,
Well, what I really
sorry, I pulled myself out of that rabbit hole.
No, because I really wanted to do what's it called? Where you're just taking bad shit out of your diet.
Yep.
So I was like, well, a carnivore, man, is not easy to do if you didn't live at home, because everything you pretty much have to cook on the spot. Like, you can prepare, but it's not as easy. So I was like, fuck, I can afford at the moment to cook every single meal. And the two things I've found about it is I haven't got anything out. I haven't reached for the cupboard or the freezer once. So nothing's frozen or nothing's processed. Which I was like, oh, well, that's fucking good. And then I'm going to slowly start reintroducing foods and see if I can maintain how I feel. So it's just an experiment, man, for 30 days. It was for no reason other than experiment. And 30 days is up Sunday. So I'm going to have a fucking burger and chips. I'm like, I'm having something. One of my good mates owns a burger shop just down the road, and I feel bad supporting him through this fucking through Corona.
I can't do it, man.
Like, fuck. Like, if you could just give me the patty and an egg, I'm fucking set. But yeah, I'm going to slowly start introducing, like, I'm going to put like avocado, mushrooms, and Greek yogurt in first. And then sort of chop and change them, because it's just like I was eating lots of veggies and shit, like really good balance, and just didn't have I didn't have the energy I felt I should have had. So I sort of took everything out, and I'm going to introduce back in. Eventually I'll end up back at a balanced diet. But there's definitely my body's pretty sensitive to shit after the chemo. So there's definitely something, man, in that diet that wasn't fucking working for me. So,
now that you've stripped everything back, you can start to introduce things slowly, and you can potentially go, oh, fuck you, tomatoes, you're acidic shit, and get rid of them. Or, you know, it could be just something that doesn't agree with you. I've found that with myself, it's like, you know, I've tried most eating plans and diets, and I'm on a hybrid kind of whole food with a side of biscuits occasionally and pizza. That's cross between low carb, intermittent fasting, and regular fasting. Because, you know, I sometimes do 3 days in a row where I'll fast, you know, until midday, you know, do 16, 18-hour fasts, you know, but the intermittent side, and sometimes I'll do it once every second or third day, you know, depending on what I'm training. So like this morning I did cardio this morning, and then I fasted. I continued my fast up until about 1 o'clock today. So, you know, I've done a 17-hour fast today, and then I ate before I came on here, but I'm going to go and lift weights this afternoon. And so I'm going to be now eating up until I go and lift weights. And so it's just kind of about kind of fueling the kind of performance that you want to get. You know, the big one for people is they want to get strong or they want to be able to lose weight. That's it. Or I say strong. Okay, let's chuck another one in there. All right, they want to look aesthetically pleasing. Okay, all right, and that's kind of a hybrid between the two. You want to lose weight? Stop eating so much shit and move more. Done. All right. You want to get strong? Eat more and move more. Holy shit! It's the same advice for both. Okay, just one's, you know, they're just different forms of eating. You know, so it's oh man, it's an absolute nightmare out there for people that don't really have the motivation to even go and start exercising, let alone to go and do the research online to find out how to eat to fuel those results. Because I've trained people for years that have literally gone nowhere. They've literally just stayed there. They might have lost a little bit of weight at the start, and then they've just sat there. Right? And they've sat there because they've found this lifestyle where the stimulus that I'm applying to them is being matched by, you know, the amount of food and grog and shit what they're eating, and their weight is just staying. And then they go and ask me, you know, in a year's time, oh, I think I've plateaued. No, you haven't plateaued. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. The training's hard. The stimulus is there, all right, but you're just fueling it at appropriate enough for it to not have any change. Okay, eat a little bit less or eat better food, all right, and you're going to drop some weight. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, you want to get stronger, you have to lift a little bit heavier and eat some better food. All right, fuel your performance, and you'll get a bit stronger. It's it's a very, very confusing time. The internet is the best thing that's ever happened to us, and it's also the worst thing that's ever happened to us, because it's provided people with, you know, geniuses all via the internet. You know, that they feel that they know absolutely everything. Personal trainers, they're the worst ones.
Oh man,
Personal trainers.
She won't listen to this, so I don't give a fuck. My auntie is a Karen, like through and through, is a fucking Karen, man. And we had a family Zoom the other day. And
you shouldn't just be eating meat. You need to eat some vegetables.
Asked me, he's like, how's your fucking diet? Like, what are you having for dinner? I'm like, I've got a fucking I had like something big. It was like 700 gram fucking T-bone or something. I was like, I'm going to put in the oven in a sec. She's like, what are you doing? And I'm like this. And she's like, oh, no, you can't do that. I've been on some forums on the internet and I watched Game Changers. I'm like, you fucking lost me.
Oh, shoot yourself. No, sorry.
She's like, the environment, the water. And I went, actually, you know, one cow can sustain a male for a year, and but you need a whole crop of shit. I'm like, don't start giving me one, health advice, and then two, trying to guilt me. I'm like, fuck off. Like, it's my body. And I'm like, who are you? You've never been fit. You've never really done anything, but you've got all this opinion and you're going to, it's backed by science. No, fuck off. You're not referencing anything. Referencing a Netflix show, which is edited and made in a way to, it's a fucking TV show. They can't just, if you just had a scientist sitting there going, it'd be fucking shit. No one would watch it. And for that exact reason of them, you know, pulling some fucking strings, you and me have both watched it and have made money. So it's worth. Oh, fuck. But
that's the reason when I got into the industry, that's where I got qualified as a personal trainer and I started doing boot camps. And then I moved down to Canberra down here and I was like, I know dick about dick. I know fucking nothing about this field. And then that's when I went to uni and I did an undergrad in sports coaching and exercise science. And so I spent 3.5 years doing that undergrad. And I came out after that and I was still sitting there going, fuck, I know nothing. I know nothing. I still know nothing. And I've done, I've done human nutrition and I've done sports psychology and, I've done, performance analysis and biomechanics. And I've done all the trendy stuff, in depth. And I still came out after 3.5 years and went, I still know shit. And then I was out of that undergrad for, I don't know, it was probably 9 months where I just floated. And then I did a research master's. I started a research master's. And then I've just finished that. That took me 3 and a bit years as well. So I've been studying for 7.5 years. And do you know what I know?
Fuck all.
Everything's fucked.
Man, you should see the
Nobody knows shit. We know shit. All we're doing, there's this guy, shit, I'm going to ruin the pronunciation. Susrata, I think it is, Susrata. And he was an Indian. He was an Indian in 500. Oh man, I hope I don't do this. No one's going to find the paper anyway. So it was a research paper, and he's one of the first exercise physiologists. And he was sitting there, so he's an Indian, and he was so the whole yoga background and stuff, because that's like one of the first forms of kind of really kind of regimented exercise. And he wrote in his scriptures about, we need to have, for good health and complexion and to be essentially a less fat version of ourselves, we need to have labored breathing every day. We need to do strenuous activities, things that we have to lift things up, to make ourselves stronger. It's going to, stop us from getting diseases and infections and all this stuff. And amazing. You read it. If I just pulled the paragraph up and just looked at it and you'd go, yeah, no shit. And you're like, yeah, that was written in 500 BC.
Yeah. Yeah. We're fucking
500 BC. And he was referencing freaking scriptures from before that. So we know nothing new in the last 2,500 years when it comes to exercise physiology. We know that movement is going to benefit the body in every positive way. There's no negatives for exercise. There's fuck all right? And then when it comes to fueling your body, there's, if we strip it back even more, let's look at these poor little African kids, all right? They either have food or they don't. So let's look at it in terms of, hey, today we get to eat. We get to eat because those kids, they don't get to eat. They sometimes don't get to eat. So we're lucky that we actually have the choice to be able to pick and choose what we do get to eat, all right? But kick in the face. But yeah, the Karens online are absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. My PT once told me I need to do this. Your PT is full of shit. Your PT has done a certification online, had his friend PT sign off the paperwork like I did. Thanks, Molly. All right. All right. And then you get out into the real world and they walk around thinking that they can justify, charging, $60 to $100 an hour for somebody that's their first day on the job. Let me just say this. There should be some form of work experience for a personal trainer of like a year to 2 years or something before you can actually start charging $60 to $100. All right. The one good thing about the coronavirus, all right, for the fitness industry, it's going to cull a lot of the shitbag trainers out because they can't survive. Unfortunately, they just can't do it. I was lucky enough that I've got a training app that I've been, working on for the better part of the last 2 years. And, we were watching this coronavirus kind of stepping gears up over in Asia when Josh Tonner, the kickboxer, was fighting overseas and he was going to have to he wore a mask over to Jakarta on his last fight. And my wife's sitting there going, oh, I don't really want you going over there. And I'm sitting there like, oh, yeah. And, I didn't end up going, but we were watching it. And then you end up getting another fight lined up straight afterwards to go and fight in Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam. And my wife always go with her gut because she seems to be always right. She turns around and goes, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Yeah. That fight's not going to happen because this shit's taken off. And she was right on the money and it got canned. And, it's just, we were lucky from my business's point of view that we had this app that we were able to forecast that we're all going to have to go into some form of isolation because it's going to come to Australia, and we were able to kind of hit the ground running and continue training people online through our app and face to face, digitally. So
fucking lucky, man.
Well, shit, but you still take a massive hit. Like we have to get on the Kickstarter as well. We have to because our business, it got kicked fair in the freaking dick. We're hoping to be back outside again in a couple of weeks, in a week or 2 or 3, and we're already kind of setting things up to be able to get out there and hit the ground running. But it's a freaking tough time, and it's really hard because I've got family members around me that are all still employed. They're essential. They've all got jobs, and I'm sitting there going, well, if I hadn't have been proactive 2 years ago and pushed this bloody app of mine, I'd be one of those people that are just sitting there at the moment trying to charge on Zoom for, Zoom workouts and stuff like that. I'm lucky enough that I can give my face-to-face workouts for free. So, so it's a shit sandwich and everyone's got to take a bite. And I wish just everybody would kind of, just persevere and just stay at home and catch up on some Netflix, really.
Well, the quicker we do all the right things, the quicker it comes back. We can do shit again. So it's like, fuck.
Just look at where you are. Look where you are. You guys closed the borders straight away and everyone's like, ah.
Well,
and you guys have had 0 cases for 2 weeks. I think it is
16 days today, 0 cases.
Yep. There you go.
As of Monday coming, apparently like the majority of things are going to reopen. And it's like, SA's not that small. It's still 1.5 million people or something all up. Like it's not very, like I know it's very spaced out, but we had like 4 deaths total, I think. We've only actually been properly locked down for a month. Boot camps and shit can still go ahead. They never actually got stopped. So our minimum, our tightest restriction that has come into place is maximum 10 people in any gathering with social distancing laws, but 10 people. So all the PCIs still, all the PTs still running shit, just with 10 people spaced.
Yeah.
With minimum what? I don't know, they're fucking dynamite on its minimum 1.5, like space the fuck out.
Yeah.
But man, it's the fucking, we've been lucky because we actually had someone who put the foot down and went, no, let's shut everything. Fuck Victoria, you're not coming over because they're still fucked. Victorians fuck South Australia with everything. And then we've just been fucking lucky, man.
They're like the shit cousin or the shit cousin that you don't really want to see. The one that's like right next door to you.
Mate, fucking every time like Victorians like, Adelaide shit, there's nowhere good. I'm like, I always tell them, I'm like, no, because we take you to the shit spot so you don't fucking move here, cunt. We don't want you here.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off. Fuckers, man. Victoria, fucking nanny state. I hate that fucking shit. Like, I'm from Victoria, and you can't do shit.
Well, we don't live in Canberra or we don't live in the ACT, but I can see Canberra and the ACT from my lounge room. So that's how close we are. But I am not from Canberra or the ACT. And they're much the same, but, you know, like they're knee-jerk with everything, but also flippant in other areas. You know, I just sit there and I'm like, because like, so boot camps, we got shit canned, you know, almost straight away, but, you know, but you can still go and get a fucking haircut. And I'm like, come on, man. I'm employing, like, I've got 2.5 meters between people. I'm outdoors and they're exercising. They're not sharing equipment, and that you're still going to let someone go indoors, sit in someone's chair and get their face and hair massaged by another person, and you think that that's appropriate. Whatever.
They should have just put like restrictions. Like, okay, you can run a boot camp, minimum 5 people, maximum 5 meters between them, and you could easily do that. Like, that's doable.
Yeah. Well, see, I run groups of like 50 at a time.
Yeah.
So it kind of kicked us in the guts because, you know, we can't run 50 people. So we're potentially kind of come out of this thing with this, you know, 10 people, that's one instructor and that's 9 people. So, you know, we're looking at ways that we're not bending the rules. We're just working within the rules to be able to train as many people as we can over a very large area with multiple instructors and stuff like that, just to get people out, because we've seen the psychological damage on some of our guys that, you know, like, you know, it's not just being locked up, but it's not having that routine, that outlet. You know, you can only train at home. Like you and I are fine. We got home gyms, you know, like this is how isolation for you. This is normal, you know, except you can't go and get your burger down the road. You know, me, I'm home all the time. I go to boot camp and then I'm home. So isolation for me is just, I get to sleep in. That's pretty much it. But the damage that it's done to people, you know, it's gonna have roll-on effects for a long time.
Man.
Long time.
Oh man, I was doing a podcast the other day for a charity. They got me on, cancer charity, and they pretty much saying we had a big discussion that anyone who's ever had cancer or dealt with someone with cancer, this is like no new fucking territory for them. Like
that's right.
Anyone on chemo has to be in isolation because your immune system is fucking zero. You're on steroids to keep your immune system from crashing and killing you. You're in isolation. Now, at 13 months, I barely left the fucking house. And it's like anyone like that, they're fine. You've fucking done this before. Same with the army, man. Anyone who's been in the army, fuck.
I was about to say, it's like a deployment. It's like a deployment. It's like being stuck on an FOB. You're stuck there. It's like, you can't leave this FOB. You can't. Here's your water. Here's your toilet paper. You got to all share the same shitter. Hopefully you're not freaking cranking off too many times in there. And, you know, Joe Bloggs is bloody cleaning up after himself. But, you know, it's the same scenario. It's just like a deployment, and we all get to experience it now. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. But the thing is, there actually has been positives out of this, man. Like, I have a friend who owns a bike shop, and he's out of children's bikes. That so many people came in and bought bikes for their kids to teach them how to ride. Now, I hope that the thing I was talking about the other day was, I hope that this is long enough lockdown that people actually develop habits that will stay on. So I hope, because I go out running most nights, or at least I go out for a walk every night. And I will see so many, way more people than usual walking. I live on the beach, walking along the foreshore and riding their bikes. And I'm like, I hope that this 6 or 7 weeks you've been locked down is long enough to develop it in from just a thing you do into a habit. And this habit continues if you're out walking your dog or you're taking your kids on their bikes. I hope that that becomes the positive, that actually a habit is formed and something you just do now intrinsically is riding your fucking bike or walking with your dog.
I think it's going to be like an environment. So if we call this situation we're in right now a holiday, all right, and then you are going to go back to work when this shit finishes, all right, and then you're going to look back at that holiday and go, actually, that was pretty nice. It was nice to, have dinner with my family, and we go out for walks and stuff like that, twice a day because we've got to take the dogs out and stuff like that. And that people then go, oh, I might try to adopt certain things from that lifestyle now. Let's go home and have dinner together now, as a family, as opposed to all in passing and stuff like that, and go out and walk more. I'm trying to be very positive about it, and I hope that it's that people will make changes. I really do. I'm hoping that more people want to get outdoors, especially, like Adelaide, you've got some amazing hills and stuff like that, some amazing places to go on and go on adventures and stuff. It's not in Victoria, it's a shithole. But Cairn, we got some amazing trail. We're surrounded by mountains and trails and stuff like that. So it's more of a case of just get out and go and explore and stuff like that. So it's kind of a really cool scenario that I hope everyone kind of embraces, really. So
and I hope people take a mental sort of check from it too. Oh fuck, things can be sort of changed at sort of the, it can just change so easily. I hope that people who like hold off, like, oh, I'm not going to travel until I get a bit more money, or I'm not going to take that holiday or do this. It's like, oh, look, we saw what happened. Like, I had to cancel a France trip and an America trip because of this. But like, and it's even reassured me. I'm like, fuck, once this is over, I'm going to do that because, you don't know when something else is going to happen. I know people, man, who I'm a big supporter of. Once you leave school, in the couple of years after, travel. Go out, you'll learn shit about yourself. You'll fucking have fun. Like I traveled, my first traveling was in Rockall, out of Afghan. And then I traveled as soon as I got home again. Both in Europe, and it's fucking cheaper than people think. But I have friends who are like, oh, look, I'm looking to travel when I'm 30. These are people who are still 23. Like, I'll travel when I'm 30 and have a bit of money. And I'm like, you're going to get to 30. You're going to have kids. You're probably going to have a mortgage. You're going to have all this other shit. And you won't have the same drive to just be able to go in a backpackers and just sleep with 15 other fucking people. Do it fucking now. Do it earlier, because you don't know, man, I got a big check of that when I got diagnosed, of holy fuck, I can't just go and you sort of take for granted all that shit. And same with people who've taken for granted being able to go get Maccas and whatever. And no, you just fucking can't. I hope it's a wake-up call for people who hold shit off like that.
Well, I know it's going to. I know me personally, it's affected, obviously our finances, and it's made us really kind of even more stringent with how we cook and like the food that we buy and stuff like that. I've got these 3 kids that they just never stop fucking eating. They're only little kids, but man, they're like little garbage disposals of all the good shit, all the good food, and then they come in, they demand good quality biscuits, and you give them some freaking milk arrowroot, and they look at you like you're a freaking peasant, and they throw it at you, and then they come back and eat it eventually later anyway because they're hungry. But it's made us really kind of be really smart with what we buy, when we buy, and kind of our finances and stuff like that. And I'm hoping that will roll into when things go back to normal and our finances kind of readjust and go back to normal. That these are long-term, things that are going to benefit us personally. But in terms of the travel, well, I didn't travel when I was young. I joined the army and then got into the industry and then had kids. And now Mel, my wife, and I, we're sitting there going, okay, we're going to travel because we really want to travel, but we've got that baggage. We've got these 3 little freaking shit bags that, we have to take with us, and we have to kind of go, we've been on planes with a 1-year-old, we've been on planes with 3-year-olds, and it's like, it's just shit. So we're sitting there going, okay, in like a year and a half, shit's going to be really easy. It's going to be a lot easier because we've got these 2 little 4.5-year-olds and a kind of 7.5, 8-year-old. That's easy. Okay, cool. So that's what we're planning. We're planning some overseas trips because we both didn't do travel, and I regret it too. I really wish I'd gone overseas more and seen some cooler countries other than going to countries and getting issued a rifle and having to go and walk around with body armor on the whole frickin' time. That's
that, and being
that's
a fucking 20-year-old fucking white guy from Australia, fucking Europe.
Mister.
God, fuck me. Like Scandinavia, man, I didn't pick up my fucking jaw off the floor for the whole time. Like,
wow,
fucking the
average.
average.
You know what they say about exercise? They say exercise is if exercise is easy, all right. If exercise is easy, we'd all look like a bunch of Swedish supermodels, but it's not, and that's why we're all ugly as fuck. All right, so we all have to work really, really hard to look like those really hot Swedes or Scandinavians, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, they're all the same.
They're all the same.
Man.
Good genes.
Good genes. Fuck, they have a better approach to exercise and food and community than we do too. It's the biggest thing I saw, because Finland is the as far as like happiest country in the world. I spent a bit of time in Finland. And they just approach things differently to us. It's so much more communally based. Because if you actually look at one of the big problems we have is we're so sort of independent now. We don't, especially in Australia, you don't have to talk to anyone. If you can live alone, you don't see anyone else. Really bad for you. At least mentally. But over there, man, because it's such an extreme environment, like I was there in the middle of winter, like over New Year's, and it was 30 below, 40 below, like it fucked.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was fucked, man. The story behind this, people who listen to this will be like, I've followed this fucking a million times. But I came home from Afghan, had all this fucking money, man. Christmas Eve, got that fucking drunk. I texted one of my girlfriends in Finland who I knew in year 10 as an exchange student. This is like 7 years prior. And I was like, I'm coming over, and booked a fucking flight on Boxing Day from Tullamarine in Melbourne to Finland. In Adelaide summer, bro. It's like 50. And anyway, ended up fucking, I forgot about it, and like drunk, woke up Christmas Day, hungover as fuck, get a text like, hey, it's 24 hours, you can now check in. I'm like, check into fucking what? Next day, like 23-hour flight to Finland. I'm like, fuck. Good Christmas. And ended up like at the airport, like, yeah, I'll buy some like cold weather clothes, and it's just nothing. Like, this isn't cold, Australia cold. This is proper fucking Arctic North Pole cold. And because it's so extreme, they're fucking so much nicer to each other because they have to rely on each other. Like, it is illegal. Like, it is a law. You cannot drive past a car broken down. You have to stop. Because if you break down your car and you don't got a jacket on, you'll die in a matter of hours in the car. You check on your neighbours. Like, how often, really? Maybe in farm. I grew up on a farm. Maybe on farms, but in town, never. Go and just say g'day to your neighbours and see how they are. Like, oh, do you need it every fucking day? Man, it was just a different approach to shit. And eating a fuckload of reindeer. That's good shit too. But like, yeah, man, the Finns are fucking weird people, but they're fucking nice, man. Like, I remember like
reindeer.
My first or second night there, I was trying to find this Airbnb because I had no idea. I was in Helsinki somewhere. And I asked this lady, I'm like, hey, can you fucking direct me here? And she's like, oh, I'll walk you there. And I'm like, you don't fucking, and she walked me all the way to my Airbnb, this like 40-year-old lady. I'm like, I didn't have to do that. She's like, no, I know you're from Australia, you don't know what cold is. I don't want you getting lost and fucking dying. And I'm like, fuck, that's just a different attitude, man. And that's why it's more community based. Fucking wicked, man.
So how do you change something like that in Australia?
Oh, I don't think you can, man. We earn so much money per person. We fucking live in such a good environment. Like, even the harshest of environments are still not that bad, really. At least in the cities we live. I don't know, man. I think.
So like so culture is usually developed. It's usually developed and adapted via by your environment.
Yeah.
So, like, like in our infantry unit and stuff like that, the culture, like the internal culture, is dictated by who's the higher ups and the rank and stuff like that. And so then they've got extreme Arctic weather and stuff like that, and so that's created this kind of really societal kind of everyone's looking out for everybody. Do you think maybe that with this environment of us being isolated, that this might change our internal culture of Australia?
I'd like to,
or maybe even the state to state, maybe.
Yeah, I'd like to think. I reckon SA, man. I reckon South Australia, because we've come out of this the best, and will come out the best. That will be almost something to be a bit more proud of our state. Like, we all came together and we fucking had 4 deaths and we opened to first. I hope that'll happen. But I'm just not sure how long it'll really stick around for. It's weird, man. Like, when I was in Finland, I was there for their 100 year of independence. Was over that time, and for such a small country, man, the population is like 6 million. But the recent memory of shit is very fucking common there. Like, there are people living who remember the fucking Russians crossing their border and the Germans coming up the other border and getting bombed and shit. We have in Australia, we have veterans that remember that, but a real community doesn't. Like, there might be a few in Darwin, but not everyone. And it's it's not that long ago, man. And it's the country. I remember talking with a guy, 2 Commando fella, about PTSD. And he was saying the reason Australian troops struggled in World War II primarily more than a lot of other troops is the country, our troops went to war, our country didn't. So we sent guys into France to fight and wherever else. But the Australians at home, things changed, but there wasn't Germans knocking on our door. Like, even as close as the Japanese got, they weren't on our land, in here, where, say, the French soldiers, even the German soldiers, their whole country was at war. Every civilian had to, and it wasn't like, the soldiers came home and it was like, we all went through it. But the divide in Australia was because of just geographically, luckily the geography we have, really created this divide between guys that went to war and people that just sort of were living. It was a really interesting thing. And I think countries like that, part of their culture is because they all went through it. Like, and they're a tough little country, man. Like, they still patrol the border. They have a small bit of border, but the only border into Europe of Russia is Finland. And it's like, and they have national service there. Everyone does a year of service, and you do like your 4-6 months training, and you go and stand on that fucking border, what is north. So you're in what they call Lapland, which is actually part of the North Pole, where it's 50, 60 below. You're sitting there on a border between Russia, and that's a live border, like with a fucking 50 cal and 84. And it's like, but it gives that sense of pride too. It's like us, like anyone in the army, man, anyone who served, sort of have a common ground to talk shit about. Like, you and me could go to a pub and talk for hours about the army, because we've all got that like common ground,
shared experience. And
I think that's one thing. I'm a big supporter of like national service and shit like that. It'll have a shared experience, but I hope that this Corona thing, because this is traumatic to people, man. Like, we might just sit at home, whatever, but some people, this is the most traumatic things ever happened in their life. And I hope that this becomes a shared experience between us.
Canberra was a really interesting scenario, because we've had a run of, we've pissed somebody off recently because we had the fires over Christmas where we just got absolutely smashed. Our oxygen was like, not often that I talk about toxic oxygen, but it was shit. It was so bad you couldn't actually go outside. Your eyes were stinging because it was that smoky outside. And then we had this once in 100 year hailstorm that created, what was it, was it $600 million worth of damage?
Jesus.
Like so you go, like you drive down Majura Road into Canberra and there's paddocks filled full of cars. All cars have been ridden off. Yeah, it was astronomical. And then we have this that's come up. So in the last 4 months in Canberra, we've had toxic air and bushfires. Then we've had hailstorm, and then we've had a freaking, a corona pandemic. And it's really interesting because the difference between the first ones, the fires and the ice and stuff like that, and this is that, like what you're saying, is like we were like France in the war. So like we were living with the smoke and all the care. It felt like internally at Canberra that we were the only ones that were helping, like all the coast and everything. Even though it was in New South Wales, Canberra, you just saw this mass community uproar where everybody just came together and everyone was volunteering and putting truck, and they get mass truck convoys of volunteers and people driving it all down the coast, and they're getting stuck in roadblocks down the coast because they get cut off from fires and stuff like that. And it was just an amazing community experience. And then the freaking corona comes around the corner and all shops get freaking robbed and freaking toilet paper gets stolen and bloody, like everything you're just sitting there like, are you serious? Like what? We just experienced a once in a lifetime predicament that would change the society for which we would live in, as now, it's been changed forever. And then within a period of 3 or 4 weeks, we've gone back to square one.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck? Like what was the point? So, I believe that change could be made, but it could also come down to duration. Like we just weren't in the fires long enough for any change to be there, and potentially with this isolation that, maybe answering my own question is that maybe no change will be made. Absolutely none, because it's not a long enough duration, and for someone like yourself that, you're in pretty much your own isolation with your chemo and stuff like that, that changed you dramatically, whereas for people that have been in isolation for a period of, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, it's just not long enough. And that, are they still going to be that same version of themselves in another 8 weeks' time? Probably not. But we'd like to say that they would be.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's funny when people, like big communities, go through trauma together. So like the lowest suicide rate ever in New York was the 2 weeks following the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
And the lowest suicide rate ever in London was during the Blitz when the Germans bombed London.
Yeah.
To the lowest rates, because there was a sense of community and you go through it together. I'm not sure if you've ever read, there's a book called Tribe by Sebastian Junger.
Yep, read it.
Man, best fucking thing
Fantastic
ever.
book. Amazing book. Amazing book.
If
you haven't read it and you're listening to this, go and buy it, because it's one of those books that just changes your whole outlook. And especially if you've served in any capacity whatsoever, you'll understand why there's a big lag factor, that when you leave that environment, that there's a big sense of kind of, what's going on,
Yeah.
Amazing book.
You'll really appreciate what you had, especially serving like an infantry unit. You're tens, hundreds of mates. You're all even the blokes you fucking hate who are sacks are still part of that community. You still have that fucking place you sit.
Yeah. But see, this is the thing, is like when you get out, you got to try and recreate an environment, like a tribe. You got to kind of belong to some form of tribe, even if it's a couple of mates and stuff that all look after each other, or go and join a sporting team, or, create something. I was lucky enough that, I got into boot camp, so I was around a lot of people from the very start, and, I was training and everyone had a good outlook. And then I came down to Canberra and I was able to create my own tribe down here of people. And I don't think that if I didn't have those people around me, the people that I train, I wouldn't be in the same psychological place that I am today. I feel I'm comfortable, with what I've done and where I am in, time and space right now. But, if I didn't have this community around me, oh shit, I don't know. I'm quite introverted normally, I spend a lot of my time at home with my kids and stuff like that. And yet when I'm teaching boot camps and stuff, people would look at me and think that I'm extroverted, because the way that, I stand and my posture and the way that I'm talking and stuff like that, people would think that I'm more extroverted, but I'm not. And I think if I didn't have that outlet for me to be that little bit of an extrovert, then I think psychologically I wouldn't be very healthy. And I know a lot of people that I train are the same version. Yeah, everyone's got a little bit of, kind of 50-50 or 60-40 or just, a little bit. And I know some of those ones that I know a fair few introverts that I train, and that's their only outlet, that 1 hour in the morning that I train them. That's their one little outlet to get that group kind of tribe mentality before they go to their job, and they just kind of, that's it, thumb in bum, ready to go. So I think people need to go and find tribes. They need to go and find, something around them that's going to support each other. And, it's incredibly powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Incredibly powerful. We've tried to replicate it. We've tried to replicate it down here in Canberra. I got poached a couple of years ago by a guy that I just happened to be training at the time. And he told me, I work at the Australian Institute of Sport. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And then I actually looked him up. And I'm like, oh, shit, this guy's like freaking badass. He's one of the probably top 10 physiologists in the world. So he's a senior physiologist over at the Institute of Sport. And I was training him for like a month. Anyway, he said, oh, you should come over. I'll show you around. So he brought me in. And anyway, I found out that he was actually developing the combat center that is now. Because at the time, there was nowhere for judo and boxing and wrestling and stuff to actually come into the institute and actually own, And so he actually brought me in to kind of come in and help build this combat center and try and create a culture like that I created around my boot camp and like what I experienced in the army, and that's a very difficult task, very difficult, especially when you've got people like upper and middle managers that question a lot of the reasons why you want to do certain things. It's like, why do you want to get the boxers up at 5 o'clock to go for a run? It's like, because that's what we want to do. And they're like, no, they need another 2 hours of sleep. You can't have them until 8:30. What do you want to do with them at 8:30? And I'm like, nothing. We don't want to do anything with them at 8:30. And then you get them at 8:30 and they turn up late, and you're like, oh dear. So the culture is this continuing kind of struggle that most sporting teams and companies and everybody struggles with. But we tried to replicate it over at the AIS, and it didn't. It worked for a very small period, and I think the only reason that it did work was because of Dave Martin, the boss, the guy that actually brought me into the institute, who's my mentor. He provided such top cover, top cover. He put this massive umbrella up, and and I know this bloody shitbag that's down in Tasmania at the moment, the freaking old shitbag Hickey, old freaking gunslinger from out west. He came down to give me a hand down there. So we used to be able to kind of spread our wings out and do our thing with these athletes. And Dave Martin from the AIS would put his little umbrella up and protect us all from all the shitbags above him that would keep asking, like, why are you bloody making them roll around in the sand pit at 3 o'clock in the morning? It's like, because it builds the team up, it builds the you're trying to build a team in a group of people that are fighting in an individual sport. We had coaches that actually said to us, and they're like, but it's an individual sport. And you're like, oh, come on, man, you're a team. And then you got the head coach that's turning around saying that they don't need to do it because it's an individual sport. And you're like, and yet you're whinging when the fighters don't go and watch each other at the Olympics. You're wondering why they don't turn up. And they're like, oh, they didn't even come and watch the fight. That's because you've created a culture around them where they're not a team. So, oh shit, that's a rabbit hole there. Fuck me.
Oh, no, I feel it, man.
Oh shit. We were running resilience courses at the Institute of Sport for pretty much 3 years, where we were doing a lot of talent identification. So we were getting people from non-combat sports, and they were coming in, and they would do a course of like a couple of days with Olympic coaches, and the Olympic coaches from boxing and judo and stuff would look at people, and they would go, oh, that you are potentially suitable for a fast track program into an Olympic combat sport. And And look, we had no one that went to the Olympics, but we had a lot of success with people that, after only 6 months of doing judo, went out and won national and state titles and stuff like that. And people that have continually, they're still doing it to this day, and they're still doing it quite successful. So it did work in some capacity, but me and my team, we came in at the end and we put together like 7 and 8 hour resilience packages where we'd essentially just absolutely smoke these guys for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
Just essentially cull them out. It was a selection course on crack. It was, we're essentially trying to burn these guys as fast as we can, because we know that they are physical specimens. We know that, candidate 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, they are all show the right, kind of prerequisites that judo want. So let's go and push them. Let's go and push them to see what they're really made of. And, we had a lot of them break, not physically, just mentally going, no, fuck this, I don't want to do it anymore. And they'd pull out. And you're like, cool, we do not want to finance that person for the next 12 months and send them to Japan to learn from the best judoka over in Japan. We don't want to go and spend 50 to 100K on that shit bag that's going to go and give up in the first training session in Japan. So the job worked really well. So that was a really cool gig that we did, but also, back into culture, like that created this really interesting culture in the combat sports over at the Institute of Sport. But, as with all culture, if you don't have upper management and middle managers that have got 100% buy-in of it and like the same vision to kind of lead from the front, then it's just going to die on dead ears. Dave Martin went off to work in the NBA with the Philadelphia 76ers, and once he left, it just lost the smoke. It just lost its forward drive, and it just kind of coasted, and then now it's just a building.
Yeah,
it's just a building, like the AIS. It's a museum. It's a museum now, unfortunately. And with tough financial times and small budgets and stuff, they recently laid off, I think, 2/3 of the scientists that were there. And so you've got some of the greatest sports scientists in Australia in one place. Like when I was in there was, in the physiology office, you've got like 20 physiologists. You've got like 5 or 6 senior physiologists, like, good, like senior ones on the books. And then you've got maybe 15 PhD students, people that are doing PhDs. Each of them are doing 4 or 5, 6 papers each, plus they're all minions and they're all physiologists in their own right. So you had so much knowledge in one building. And then the next building over, you had biomechanics, and just like, there's so much. And then above them, there was the nutritionists. And like, there's so much knowledge in this one building, in this one mecca. And now they're all gone.
Yeah.
All gone. There's like half a dozen. There's like 2 or 3 physiologists there, 2 nutritionists, a biomechanist. It's a ghost town. So you wonder why when I will make a prediction right now. Tokyo 2020, or not Tokyo 2020, Tokyo 2021 then.
Yeah.
We are going to do shit. We are going to do shit like we did in the last Olympics, and the same as we did in the Olympics before that, and the same as we did in the year before that. And that is because we put all our money into sports that we only give a shit about at the Olympics, and the rest of the time we don't care about, and the money's just not getting spread around. I know the budget for Wrestling Australia was like $25,000. That's it.
Good.
How are you supposed to get a competitive team to go on, to not only go internationally and go and compete in all those qualifiers and stuff? They haven't even got enough money for plane flights to basic meets, let alone accommodation, food, sponsorship, clothing, everything else that goes with it. And that's over a period of time. When as you go and look at something like swimming that have, $5 million.
Oh, don't get me started on fucking swimming.
And then they go and base that on gold medals. And it's like, well, you're not going to win medals with a budget of $25,000.
Yeah.
So,
and a gold medal, this sounds pretty bad, but a gold medal.
What's a gold medal worth? That was the question. There was lots of talks about that.
But a medal in the pool is worth, in my opinion at least, a lot less than some other medals. Like, I can guarantee you, if you put on eBay a medal from some swimming somewhere of any nation versus like a Usain Bolt's medal, it's just a different fucking discipline.
but even the modern day Olympics is not what the Olympics was even like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So you got like someone like Anna Meares, who's Adelaide Golden Girl. She won and won, so many, all the world champions. She's won more world championships than any cyclist in her discipline. She went and won a gold medal or 2 gold medals at the Olympics. I think it was 2 days, 1 or 2 days after the closing ceremony. When she got home, she was back in the tuck shop at the hockey centre in Adelaide there, serving meat pies again and sandwiches. All right, because she had to go back to work because there was no sponsorship, there was no money. And so it's like, here you are getting served by a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and she's giving you a meat pie and giving you your change. And it's like, what in the actual fuck is going on here? So Australian sport, and then we got all the football crisis at the moment, like AFL. I haven't, well, you're an Adelaide, so AFL is your bread and butter, but
it's not.
They're trying to get NRL, they're trying to get the footy started back up, and I'm like, seriously, like how?
Yeah.
How can you have one rule for one people and multiple rules for the others? And then the players then go and have a whinge because they have to be in quarantine themselves in a lockup to play the season. And if they don't do it, they don't get to play. And it's like, listen up, flog bag. Like, if you want to play football and make your, 120 or 150K for the season, you have to go into quarantine for 8 weeks or 10 weeks. That's what you have to do. That's your sacrifice.
Yeah. Fucking flogs, man. I have a good mate of mine, Connor Farron. He's a world-class downhill rider from Adelaide. Probably top in the world downhill. And there's zero money in Australia. He just goes to Europe and he just rides there because there's like nothing here. We also don't have the right sort of shit for it, I guess, as far as like hills and everything. But, it's just like, well, there's no support for a sport. And most people wouldn't know. He's one of the best athletes in the world in his discipline. So with fucking heaps of Australians, it was unknown. You're like, how the fuck do you not know?
That guy that you just spoke to, Josh Tonner, okay? Dude makes no money.
Yeah.
No money. Yeah. You know how hard that little shitbag has to work? He has to work his ringer off. Absolutely work his ringer off. His last camp, he had to go from 64 kilos. All right. He fights at featherweight normally at 61.2, and he was going down to straw weight at 56.7 or something like that. 56.7. And he's walking around at 64. And I said to him, oh, shit, you got to lose like 12% of your body. And so I'm punching numbers, man. I'm sitting there going, how many weeks did we have? We had 12 weeks. It was one of the longest camps that he's ever had. It was 12 weeks and we got him to lose like 6.5 kilos, and he had to lose the last kilo and a bit in Jakarta in the week lead up to the fight. And that guy, I'm sitting in there, we train one day next to each other, and I've looked at him and I'm like, how many calories you're eating? And, this is, a lot of people are like, oh, you're counting calories. Yeah, you do have to count calories when you're losing weight like he is, right? He's in a weight-making sport. And I'm like, how many calories are you eating? He's like, oh, kind of 1,500 to 2. And I'm like, yeah, cool. I hate to say it. Am I back? Yeah. I hate to say it, but half it.
Yeah.
Half it. And he's just like, okay. And I'm like, I hate saying it. Oh, and poor little bugger, he couldn't eat shit. He couldn't eat shit. Like, he was just eating veggies, man. He was eating really fibrous food. And I was giving him like rations of protein and stuff like that just to get him through. But he dropped the weight and he made it. But that guy, you know what he does? He did all that work. He suffered so hard for like 12 weeks. Right? And he got a massive win in Jakarta. So anyone that's watching that hasn't seen it, look him up, all right, and look at his knockout win against Andy Howson, like a 5-time world champion, knocks his head off, sends it into another freaking ionosphere. But he did it for a bloody little medal about this big that says one championship on it. That's it. And then he came home and he's Joe Blogs down the road, lives 15 minutes down the road from me. Does it for nothing. And if he gets a world title shot and if he wins, he might make some coin. But ultimately, you do it for the love of it. And he's lucky that he's got a missus that's got a good job and he's got, healthy kids that don't need any issues, and then they make it work. But far out, man. Tough gig.
Fuck yeah, man.
It's a hard way to make a living.
Fucking yeah, man. Unbelievably hard. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So,
is there anything else you want to fucking chat about? What are we doing? 2 hours 40? Yeah, 2:40.
We did pretty good.
We've done pretty good. That's one of the longer ones.
We talked some shit.
Oh man, that was destined to come.
Well, the thing is, I can talk shit. You can talk shit. So we were destined to talk a lot of shit. And you know, thanks for Blair Hickey, Omega Development Group, lining us up. You know, this is you know, first time I've been able to talk to you, Willy, face to face. But you know, I've been following your stuff for a while now, and you know, I appreciate you having me on your ringer of a show, and you know, been able to, you know, talk some smoke for the last hour and a bit. You know, it's been nice.
What was I going to fucking say? It was some dig. Oh, I'm meant to be in the fucking States with Blair. That's why I'm meant to be. I'm meant to be in the US with that fucking flog at the moment. Would it be a real PG-rated trip, knowing him?
Well, if it was anything like your last trip, so...
Fuck, man. Jesus fucking Jesus. I'm still not recovered.
Yeah.
I got off the plane, and Lily picked me up, and I got off the plane, didn't even have shoes on, and I was just like, she's like, what the fuck happened to you? And I'm like, don't ask. I'm fucked.
I went to New Zealand with him snowboarding, and I didn't even make it out on the first day. We went for a casual night. The first night, we were doing massive pub crawl through bloody old New Zealand snowfields there, and yeah, he was like cock-locked and ready to rock, like it was like a normal day on the job. The next day, I'm like, you shit bag of bags. So, you know. There's a reason he was a cat out west. You know, he's just a bloody sly old dog. So
yeah, fucking hell. Righto, man.
Well, Willy.
Wait, is there anything you want to plug before we fucking log off?
You know, follow us on Century Strength and Conditioning, Century Strong AU on Instagram and Facebook as well. You know, we're giving out free workouts. We train 3 times a week, and you know, it's just free training. There's no reason people can't find a way, you know, to find some form of avenue to exercise. I know there's so many, you know, Tom, Dick and wank bags out there these days that are offering up, you know, online workouts, but mine are free. I've got the science and the credentials behind my, you know, the way I put my shit together, and the exercises are not fun. All right. They're fun once they're finished. And then you walk around like a busted ass freaking, you know, crab leg, you know, for the next couple of days. But hey, this is the nature of the beast. You know, it's supposed to be difficult. As we've said, we're not Swedish supermodels. You're all a pack of freaking ugly shit bags, especially if you live in Radelaide or Victoria. They're too close to each other. They're obviously caught something from Tasmania. The border's too close. There's a reason they have an island, because they're as ugly as shit. But yeah, Century Strength and Conditioning. All right, jump on there. All right, and yeah, we'll look after you. All right. Other than that, thanks, Willy. Appreciate it, buddy.
No, thanks, mate. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, mate.
Look after yourself, bro.